This episode of Defining Duke is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
And we are live. Welcome to Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. I am joined here by Randall Thor 19 for episode 96. First of all, Rand, this is kind of a first for us. I don't think I've ever podcasted with you one-on-one without our respective teams,
panels,
right?
without the Jez Cordons of the world, or the King Davids, the Lord Addicts, the Lord Sovereigns. Exactly. Although we do talk a lot. We do talk a lot on Xbox. We talk a lot on the phone. So we essentially podcasting.
True.
Solo. Just not like for the rest of the world to hear, which is almost exactly how the Xbox 2 started, by the way. Conversations that myself and Jez would have about things that we eventually turned into a... Is this a precursor to a Cog and Rand podcast endeavor?
Look,
we got Defining Duke at Xbox 2. Like, are we going to do it? Is this the precursor, the beginning of a new podcast?
You never know what the future holds. Look, man, I mean, it's a pleasure to obviously podcast with you. You know, we have a lot of conversations offline, so it's kind of cool. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. First of all, salute to my Duke brethren, Mr. Matty Plays, tying the knot, proposing the new Duke and Duchess of the realm. Congratulations, brother. It was a beautiful... He had me tear up, man. I was so
I can imagine.
happy for him. You know,
it's a big. He just hit 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is incredible. Certainly a milestone. It goes to show you how much people love his content and how much value he provides the community. People just love watching, what he thinks about Xbox. Probably more importantly, what he thinks about Bethesda. And you know what? I do ride Matty sometimes when he talks about Fallout, because I'd be getting those sneaks in there. I'd be like, hey, Matty, you ready for some Fallout in 2032? 10 years from now?
You file for that.
Only because I know how much it means to him. And it's sort of true, because it's like, when are we going to get the next Fallout? Doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon. So congrats to Matty for putting the ring on it. And for hitting 500,000 subscribers. I couldn't imagine that. I'm getting close to 100,000 myself, and that's like, I never thought I'd be there, let alone 500,000, right? That's amazing.
Tremendous accomplishment. Again, salute to him. He always holds me down. I'm all traveling the world and doing things, so it's good to finally get a chance to hold him down during his special week, special moment. Enjoy your time, brother. We can't wait to have you back. We got a lot of things to talk about, but we got a show, Red. We got a show to do. So I'm gonna actually, get into the intros and the news of what's going on. So first off, let's pay the bills and salute to the Last Stand Media fam. Early access for the show goes live on Thursdays over on patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hit free feeds like Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and plenty more on Sunday. Furthermore, you can watch the video version on Last Stand Media YouTube channel. So also want to talk about that Defining Duke Ultimate that I just did. Episode 92, could 2023 be Xbox's best ever, featuring the amazing Miles Dompier.
I love that name, man.
I love
you
that
always
name.
you gotta lean into it. You gotta go that Miles Dompier.
That Dompier. It's something special when you say it. You gotta, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was good. So we had a good conversation, kind of about stuff me and you would talk offline, which is 2023, right?
2023.
And how could it potentially be Xbox's best year ever? So that's up right now on Patreon. Go check that out. You know what I'm saying? And we might have some discussions about that a little bit.
Interesting.
Later, So we'll see how it go.
I usually, what we're talking about, which we might reveal later, everybody's on my side, Cog. You're out there lonesome.
But they got to see what my side is first before they figure that I'm lonesome.
Nope, nobody's got your back on this one.
We'll see. Let's let the community decide when we get to it. I think you're gonna enjoy how it's framed. So we will talk to that for the rest of the people, for the listeners, audio listeners. You're gonna see what's coming up. Also, like I said, again, send your love out to the community. Love to see everybody hitting the likes and the posts and the hashtags. So keep up the support. We really, really appreciate it. But we're going to get into the show. We got some follow-up, some intro stuff we want to do. So first off the bat, Atomic Heart news announced by Aaron Greenberg and Munfish Studio. Day 1 Game Pass on Xbox and PC coming February 21st, 2023. What are you feeling about Atomic Heart, Ram?
Bro, I'm feeling, can we pick another month outside of February? Because it seems like everything's coming. No, so I was always kind of like looking at Atomic Heart with like, it's kind of got that Russian Bioshocky vibe going on. And it wasn't really until the trailer, I think they showed, I want to say at the game, was it at the Keeleys, I believe, for like
Yes.
Gamescom. It was at Gamescom where they showed this like amazing combat trailer, which immediately, before I was interested, I was like, all right, I'll check it out. It seems interesting. Now it's like, okay, now it's moved up my list to like anticipated. Where I watched that trailer, I was just like, man, this could be something special. So now, okay, it was supposed to come this year. I think, what's going on in the eastern part of the world, I think delayed it a little bit. So now it's coming in February. It's just one of those other games that, you hit Game Pass because Wolong's coming March 3rd. This is February 21st. Redfall's marketing seems to be kind of kicking up in the high gear. Mm-hmm. Is that coming February or March? You have a lot of games releasing in that time frame. Even though this year, a lot of people, I've sort of felt, at least from my personal taste, this year was a little bit on the slower end. It's kind of ramping up now. It seems next year is just going to start like 0 to 100 immediately, right? So, yeah, I'm quite excited to check out Atomic Heart on February 21st.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. This is one that was, as I started getting more information, it started rising up my anticipation list, the creativity, that Bioshock vibe. I just like you said, the combat looked really cool. Graphically, it looked well. This is one of them joints I was going to like look at outside of Game Pass, right? So now that I heard like, okay, day and date Game Pass, like that is a huge get. And I want to shout out the team because I feel they're starting to put their fingers on the pulse of these third-party games that they should associate with. And I felt the same way when we heard the Lies of P announcement. I was like, that's a good one. You see what I'm saying? Like the ones that have that potential, that AAA feel. And I think that's the thing that's going to really help Game Pass is as far as like having those, those third party AAA style games in the service day and date. So good get, man. Big surprise here. But that's what I got on that. Got one next for you. I'm curious about your thoughts. In a new investor report released by Remedy, Alan Wake 2 set to release in 2023 on Xbox Series X. Remedy said that the project is beginning to come together nicely. Despite this, it was stressed that there's still a lot of development left to be had on the game. And this is from the studio. Alan Wake 2 is in the full production stage, and the game will be launched as planned in 2023. Remedy CEO Tara Vertala said in the message to investors, there's still a lot of work to be done, but the game is coming together on all fronts. User testing continues, and the feedback from the user research has been encouraging. After seeing how all the elements are coming together, I'm confident we can launch an excellent game. Rand, you have some associations with Alan Wake.
Well, so, people always, whether it's during, your podcast, Iron Lords, or Defining Duke, or my own, someone always brings up, if you could pick an Xbox game that could be brought back from the dead, or a sequel, right? People always bring up, I want a Rise 2, or I want a Recore, or I want a Quantum Break, or whatever. The one that I wanted was Alan Wake 2. Because I loved Alan Wake 1. And granted, I would want a Quantum Break 2, don't get me wrong. But I felt like there was more story to tell with Alan Wake. So when they announced that they were doing the sequel, that immediately pleased me. And I'm like, all right, that's one of, if not my most anticipated game for 2023. Bringing back Alan Wake. Because I believe Remedy has the rights now. I believe Microsoft gave them back the rights, or the rights reverted back to Remedy. So, yeah, got my fingers crossed. Probably end of the year 2023 title, maybe September, October-ish, because I want to say Control launched in August of 2019. So maybe they aim for that same time frame of release. So, 2023, we're talking about it, how packed it is for the beginning of the year. And now he's like, you have Alan Wake 2, and I think that's going to be absolutely huge. Despite maybe Alan Wake 1 not selling wasn't like the biggest seller. I want to say when that game released, it released the same day as Red Dead Redemption, if I'm not mistaken, which, ouch. We can tell which game people chose to buy instead.
Sound like that Battlefield Titanfall energy.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like when you stack up like all the games that are coming out in 2023, I don't need to see gameplay of Alan Wake 2. It's Remedy. They're one of my favorite developers. So day one, bro. Day zero for Alan Wake 2.
Day zero. I'm glad this topic came up. I'm glad you was on the show for this. I was like, he's definitely gonna want to talk about this. Yeah, man. I got too much to add. Yeah, absolutely. And anticipate it. And again, just goes to show you another onto the fireplace that is 2023, right?
But you want to know something though?
What's up?
It's eventually just they're going to start moving games. The games will get delayed, and then they'll be like, 20. Because right now, I was looking at early 2023, and it's like, wow, there's a lot. My wallet's going to be feeling it, Bro, it's crazy out here.
That's when you got to start making them business decisions because too many things is right on top of each other. And that's how I end up having the backlog that I have because you got to make business decisions. You cannot play everything all the time, especially when it's so, close proximity. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, Alan Wake 2, big get. Let's get into the next one. This one is huge news right now as far as what's going on around the interwebs. Shout out to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the biggest launch in the history of the Call of Duty franchise. Sold through 800 million in 3 days. Beat its previous record set by Modern Warfare 3 in 2011. Highest digital sales ever for the series at launch. Sets new records for unique players and hours played for a premium Call of Duty launch. This game's
crazy.
It's good. It's inadequate.
Crazy.
I mean, this is not a big deal.
Considering we just came from Vanguard, which was like critically panned and commercially not. Commercially, it's probably successful if it was any other franchise in any other game, but for a Call of Duty game, the drop-off was severe. People didn't like Vanguard because there were some things with the studios. I think there was like timetables that were shifted because of COVID and stuff like that. But everybody knew it. People loved the reboot of Modern Warfare 2019. People thought that was like the resurgence of Call of Duty. Infinity Ward stuck to that 3-year dev cycle. And it was like, you knew that Modern Warfare 2 was going to be the resurgence of Call of Duty back to the top. And but COG, we did hear people canceling their pre-orders.
Oh, don't do that.
We
For what reason, Rand?
I'm just saying, like, whatever reason. And I will say, shout out to Sony for making sure as soon as the game launched that they let everybody know that it was the biggest Call of Duty ever on the PlayStation Store. I wonder who that tweet was, who they were tweeting that to make sure to let people know. You know what I'm saying? Are you
implying that there might be a motive behind stressing the outward success of Call of Duty and how massive it is? Are you implying that it may benefit a certain side? What are we doing?
I mean, I'm just asking questions. I did notice, like, right away, PlayStation put out a tweet congratulating them on like the biggest Call of Duty launch ever on the PlayStation Store. I'm not surprised that it's done this much. I mean, also they did increase the price $10, so it is $70 compared to $60 in Modern Warfare 3. Digital's obviously a way bigger part of the slice now than it even was back in 2011. Call of Duty, I mean, it's the biggest franchise in gaming, the biggest yearly franchise in gaming. It's one of the reasons why Microsoft paid $70 billion for Activision Blizzard King. Oh, yeah. Even though Phil Spencer's out there talking about how they really did it for mobile with King and Blizzard and how they want to grow on PC. There is that Call of Duty.
There's that Call of Duty. Yeah, no, I'll jump in. I mean, we can't minimize the impact of this game. Like it's insane. The resurgence, like you said about Vanguard, how disparity they were. it was still huge, but for them, it was a down year,
Yeah.
so to speak, right? Theoretically. So now you have this, and it's just like, man, and I ain't gonna lie, Rand, like, I told you this offline, like, I am a person who used to be that Call of Duty guy. Like, Call of Duty, I betrayed Halo for at one point. I remember, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And as I got older, I'm like, okay, it's the way it moves. And that's what I realized what the difference with 60 frames per second was. And I was like, oh, that's why I like it. It just felt precise, and I got into the loop. And I went all the way up to did the Black Ops about 3. Then I stopped. It was just too redundant. So part of me was like, okay, I'm kind of out of that phase. I used to do the campaigns like you, where it just be like, you beat it on veteran achievement. Like, that was a badge of honor, bro. I still got like them all Call of Duty achievements, 1,000 score. Like, you beat it on veteran, you've been through something. You saw something, right? So I was a part of the cycle, and then after a while, they just bringing it out. I think that's when they went to the future, and I was just like, yeah.
Oh, but that's when it got good, though.
You like
Infinite Warfare may be one of the best Call of Duty campaigns. Like, look, I'm a weirdo when it comes to Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
I play Call of Duty for the campaigns.
See,
I don't play Call of Duty for the multiplayers.
I play the world time.
With that said, I love Warzone. I put 200
Warzone
plus
is
hours
fire.
into Warzone, and I'm really
fire.
looking forward to Warzone 2. But for me, Call of Duty is strictly about the campaign. And I know I'm in the minority on this one.
Definitely.
And I was very happy that they offered, hey, if you pre-order this game, you can play the campaign a week early. Because that was speaking directly to me. So congrats to Infinity Ward and Activision for, you could have just rode with Call of Duty on the decline. But it's like, I guess it really, they had the problems because of COVID. Like, they shifted development around with Black Ops Cold War and the stuff with Vanguard. And quite frankly, I think people are just over going back to World War II.
Yeah,
there was that sort of nostalgia fix where it's like, okay, everything's modern warfare. We want something different. So, and people had rebelled against the future stuff, which I personally liked, but I'm not a multiplayer guy. So it's like, all right, let's, what they always say, like, what's old is new again, right? So it's like, all right, so we'll bring them back to World War II, and it was successful. Battlefield saw success with World War I. I think World War II was successful for Call of Duty, but then people were just like, well, wait a minute. Like, once was enough. I don't need a second one.
Exactly.
And people kind of rebelled against Battlefield 5, and they didn't care for Vanguard. So it's like, people, like, the setting people love for Call of Duty is that modern near future setting.
Yes.
And you give people what they want, and you're rewarded with exorbitant sales. So there's a part of me that wonders, Cog, though.
What you wonder?
How this will affect the CMA EU FTC thing, because this sort of does play into Sony's.
Yes, it does.
Sony's very, very like, hey, Call of Duty, we need it. It's so important. Makes us so much money. We can't just lose it. Microsoft might foreclose us, GamePass, and we have to and then you have this where it's like, it's the biggest ever. Nothing can touch it. $800 million in 3 days, and probably $1 billion in 5 days, or whatever it's going to be. Does that give more credence to Sony's arguments to these regulators? Does that work against Microsoft in that regard?
I think it does. I think it's obvious. You know what I'm saying? These are literally the pillars of Jim Ryan's argument. When you look at the Brazilian and the CMA stuff, they were just like, there's nothing that can compete with it. These numbers indicate such. So again, I'm never going to minimize the impact. The question just comes down to, taking it off of Game Pass and on PlayStation in perpetuity, which Xbox seems to be willing to concede. We're going to get into that later, about Phil's statements and stuff like that. He actually even mentioned that before. So, I just think it's going to come down to concessions. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that these comments, the outstanding, dominant success and now resurgence of Modern Warfare 2 plays perfectly into Sony's hands. And I think good businessmen would utilize that. Any smart businessman would utilize that when you're trying to prove your case. I do want to switch gears on Call of Duty. I mean, still on Call of Duty, but switch gears to actually a write-in in reference to on a different side, which was kind of interesting.
Professional podcasters,
Yeah,
right? The Dukes, they've been doing this so long. They're very Xbox 2. We're just whatever, fly by the seat of our pants.
I do miss drunk jazz though.
Yeah, I mean, what about hiccup jazz?
Hiccup jazz and drunk jazz makes it lit. It makes it interesting. So we all got us. I don't got King in here to referee and add it's a different vibe, but it's fun. So shout out to your boy Nikki V. Hey, Bootylicious Perry and Randy Peppa Pig Lover.
Jeez, Peppa Pig, huh?
Wow,
That's,
right. They
the
coming for us.
crossover's real. Jeez.
Yeah, they got the governments out there and all that. Anyway, dudes, what do you make of the inability for Xbox players to disable crossplay on COD? Do PC players have a major advantage? I'm just a little confused as to whether I suck at the game or I'm just being unfairly taken advantage of by keyboard and mouse wielding dorks. Pretty sure that this is only the case in Halo Infinite. Sort it out, Microsoft. Cheers, cuties. So
you better be careful how you describe PC players, keyboard and mouse wielding dorks. You can't describe the PC master race like that. They'll be up in arms. Thanks for the write-in, though. I don't really know how to answer this question because I don't know if it's something that is required by Activision where they can't turn it off, or if it's a Microsoft thing.
Yeah, but it seems like it's exclusive to PlayStation seems you can do it.
Well, I think you can turn off the crossplay in the system settings for Xbox. But you see, I don't play the multiplayer, so I'm not sure about the solutions. And I hate, we all got opinions, but I usually like to at least have my opinions with some
based on
some info where it's I don't really know, so it's tough to say whether that's a requirement. I know on PlayStation I think you can turn it off, but then does it only search you with other people who have it off since everybody else is thrown in the crossplay pool? Personally, I will say this: I don't like playing against PC players unless it's a co-op experience. Then I'm perfectly fine.
Okay.
I do not like playing against PC players because I do feel they have an advantage with their inputs, right? I believe keyboard and mouse is, I'm not going to say superior, but I feel like the people who use that are, it gives them advantage over console players. But if you watch streamers like Dr. Disrespect or Courage or people out there, they'll say that actually it's the controller players that have the advantage over PC because controller players get aim assist where PC players don't. Mm-hmm. So there's this kind of big back and forth about where the advantages truly lie. Is it controller over keyboard and mouse, or is it keyboard and mouse over controller? I just would rather just know that when I'm playing somebody, and I put 200 hours into Warzone, and I never came across a fight where I was like, that person's definitely cheating, but I wouldn't know. Mm-hmm. Where I would much prefer it where it was I know I'm playing against people using the same input method rather than questioning, well, is that person using keyboard and mouse? Yeah. Is that why he killed me this time? So,
I get it. And, my mindset is, very similar. Look, I'm always of the overarching idea of crossplay, right? I think crossplay overall as a whole is still good for gaming. However, with competitive shooters, I do agree that, there's a distinct advantage with mouse and keyboard versus the input. I know there's aim assist, but my main thing is also exploits. And the fact that PC is an open platform and you can do things to
You don't like them cheaters is what you're saying.
You do things to enhance your experience.
That is true.
You know what I mean? So it's just not an even playing field. But what I love it is cooperative play, right? And I love it for player pools and having online, just the population is just so high in a game that I love, because you don't want the game to die because a lot of people playing it. So I do feel that I'm with you. I don't know the technical answer to the question as to why it's on by default a lot of times for Microsoft. And it may be something that may be baked in the UI. I know when I played the Rock Up Blade Point, there was a way to disable it, and they had it in game. So I'm curious on a technical level, what the issue is there. Because I remember Sea of Thieves. Remember Sea of Thieves had this, bro.
I mean, I think they still have that issue.
Yeah.
But let me say, are you implying that PC players are just nothing but a bunch of cheaters?
I ain't say all that. But what I'm implying that there's a certain subset of PC players that when I'm playing Destiny and I'm playing PvP, I'm like, bro, there's no way your movement is like this. And there's certain things that you can do with mouse and keyboard that is a distinct advantage. So yeah, let me have the ability to separate. So that's what I got.
Especially if we're paying for Xbox Live Gold.
Absolutely.
It'd be one thing if it was free.
Preach.
It's like you get what you pay for. It's free, whatever. You really don't have a say in the matter. But let's be honest. People are paying for Xbox Live Gold or paying for Xbox Live Ultimate, which includes Gold. So I feel like if I'm paying for that, then I should have a say in who I'm matched up against.
Excellent point. Can't even say it any better than that. Yeah. I mean, you're in that environment for the option, so they should have the ability to say, you know what, I choose to be in my closed circle and remain in my closed circle. Thank you very much. So we'll see. But shout out to Call of Duty, a lot of stuff going on.
This episode of Defining Duke is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Nowadays, everything we do is online. Shopping, banking, working, talking with friends, gaming, the list goes on. With so much of our lives on the internet, it's important to keep your personal information secure. And that's one of the many reasons I use Surfshark. Surfshark is a virtual private network that keeps your online traffic safe and secure. So any bad actors out there trying to spy on you won't be able to see what you're doing or where you're doing it from. Surfshark uses military-grade encryption on your data, keeping you secure at home and on public Wi-Fi networks, all while browsing, sending and receiving files, and even accessing your bank account. But there are other benefits as well. I personally like to use it to change my virtual location to access and unblock regional content from streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu. Changing your virtual location can have other benefits as well, such as getting past geo-blockers and blocked websites. There's over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, so anywhere you go, you'll find a server that fits what you need. Get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free.
This next one's for me. More Midnight Suns info. Features a ton of gameplay systems, even more than XCOM. Midnight Suns will have 8 difficulty options. In a recent interview with Game Rant, creative director Jake Solomon, the OG, states they have story difficulty, normal difficulty, and then 3 heroic levels. Then 3 ultimate difficulties. Firaxis is all about the deep systems, the challenging tactical combat, and the replay value. As players progress through these difficulties, they also want to make sure they have a properly balanced and synergized team. The roster is going to have like 13 characters in Midnight Suns. Players can take them out in 3-man teams. This means players have to consider how they set up each character to work with another and bring that foreknowledge into the combat. Midnight Suns is going to release December 2nd for the Series X. And get this, Red, an Xbox One version is in development.
I was actually a little surprised. So it's in development, but it's not launching with the game?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah, so I'll jump in on this. Look, man, this is my most anticipated game of the year, to be honest. When Starfield fell through, Midnight Suns, as people know, I am Lord turn-based. That is, XCOM is the goal. Jake Solomon and Firaxis right now, to me, are the upper echelon. They are the kings of the turn-based genre. They have revolutionized, they've taken it to the next level, and whatever they touch is gold. I think XCOM 2 War of the Chosen was one of my games of the year. It's challenging, it's thought-provoking, and the thing about them, what I like, is they also have not just the gameplay on the board or the regular level. There's also like what I want to call it, the strategy layer, which is after you do what you do in the gameplay, there's also a layer outside of it where it's in your base or just managing, doing stuff. Now, I don't know if Midnight Suns is going to have all that, but to see them, Firaxis, get a Marvel IP and to see what they do with it, and I know there's the card system. People have a little trepidation there to see how that plays out. But this is exciting to me. If there's going to be hardcore guys that want that extra challenge outside of the story mode, that excites me. I like that it's the darker version of the MCU, the Wolverines, the Blades, the Ghost Riders, the people that don't get to shine too much, you know what I mean? So I think that's cool. I don't know how I feel about the 3-man team. I was hoping for a 4-man team at least. I got Blade, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Doctor Strange or Spike. 4 would have been a nice.
They're taking their cues from your favorite game, Destiny, where it's only 3-man squads.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but look, this is the A team of Firaxis. This is Jake Solomon. Like, he's on my bucket list. Put it that way.
So,
that's how much I revere his work.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
I know you love Firaxis. You love the XCOM games, and you're the turn-based king or turn-based, ninja, whatever you want to call yourself, right? Are you cool with them doing a Marvel game and not necessarily either an XCOM sequel or a new IP?
Good question. Me and Attic had this discussion because we also Firaxis fanboys. Look, our heart is always going to be XCOM. The way I look at it, this is still better for the studio, because if they land this, because as much as I love XCOM, we got to keep it real.
Sure.
This ain't breaking no XCOM ain't breaking no MPDs. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got to get the bag. So to me, they've developed such a reputation that Marvel said, we trust you with our IPs. So the way I look at it, XCOM 3 is still in development.
But let me push back there for a second.
All right, push back. Let's go.
Marvel is basically anybody who wants to get in bed with them, they're getting in bed with for stuff, it seems.
Are you implying that my studio did not deserve
this? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, this isn't like how it used to be where it was only one studio. Like, it seems like if you want to make a Marvel game, Disney's over there being like, come on in.
Are you implying that they're real loose with the IP? that it ain't as prestigious and exclusive as it used to be, man?
Hey, they're at least bringing Spider-Man to Xbox, unlike other company, right?
You ain't gonna do that. You being messy. I love it. Look, I feel you. I mean, there is truth to that. And we're going to get into that with some more topics about where these other Marvel, games are coming from. But I still think it's a big deal. A turn-based strategy game, for that studio, if they land this and it's successful, that's going to open up doors revenue-wise, more opportunity-wise. And that's how I look at it. Of course I want XCOM 3. Of course. But this, and look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm biased. MCU, Chaz, I'm sorry. I know you be in your feelings. DC. MCU is my bag. I like DC. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate on it. But don't come for my MCU. That's just where it is. And I want to see these characters, and I want to see them in this light. So I think it's cool. We got enough. Let's be honest. We got enough third party over the shoulder, like third person over the shoulder. We got a lot of different other genres. I've never seen it in turn based. So and anybody going to do it is Firaxis. So
no, I'm happy for you. Right. This could be a big game. A lot of people could discover Firaxis because of their association with Marvel on this. It is coming out in December. December seems also full. It's coming out the same day as Need for Speed Unbound, as well as Callisto Protocol. So people have their choices. Yeah. And it's just like, are people going to choose the other games instead of Midnight Suns?
That's a good point.
But yeah, I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what you think about this, because I know people were very much against the whole card system. I don't know how you feel about that, but
yeah, no, the card system, at first I was like, but after playing that game,
Demo.
Oh, Demio is god tier. So that showed me how card system can be done right. And again, the thing about Firaxis and Jake Solomon's team is what he said, the gameplay layers. They have so much fun, in-depth gameplay layers within gameplay layers where it's just, it's a thinking man's game, but not over convoluted, fun. So if anyone's going to make it fun and make people want to at least try it, it's going to be them. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Again, there's few things that they can do wrong, and they would have to prove me wrong that they just completely botched this one. So we'll see. But I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it's a unique concept, and yeah, we'll see what happens in December. Somebody better move that release date though. Somebody out of the other game, somebody got to blink. That's too many games at one time. I didn't realize that all those games, Callisto, that, and then Need for Speed. That's a lot. So we'll see how it is. We'll see how it go. More news coming up. Sonic, y'all. A ton of Sonic news from Mr. Matty Plays, my new Sonic kid. He's co-host. He's now a Sonic Sega main.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, he's going crazy for Sonic. Sonic Frontiers animated prologue shows Knuckle in action. And then we got December 15. They got the Sonic Prime Netflix show. Sonic Frontiers got a trailer confirmed that Super Sonic would be playable in the game, and we recently learned that the Sonic series has sold over 1.5 billion copies worldwide. That's for my man Everborn Saga, so you can flex. And then,
that's copies sold and downloads. So I think the vast majority of those are downloads on mobile phones.
Look, man, we ain't gonna worry about how we got the data.
We're not gonna worry about how you got the 1.5 billion. Just that you got 1.5
We got
billion.
1.5. And it's going to be releasing November 8th. How excited are you? There's nothing else on November 8th. You good, right?
Yeah, there's nothing else on November at all.
Sonic.
No other big games coming out.
That's it.
Look, I have really no interest in this game.
Boy.
I'm sorry. I just don't. Like, the gameplay videos that they put out have all looked boring to me. It comes out literally the day before God of War Ragnarok. I didn't get a review copy of God of War, so like I'm lining up day one. If I bought Sonic Frontiers, I literally wouldn't be playing it, right? Because I'd be playing God of War Ragnarok, and then of course there's the Xbox game Pentiment the week after.
That is true.
Which I definitely have to check out. So Sonic Frontiers would be getting no love. So I mean, what else do you want me to say? Like, I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, I'm really interested in Sonic. Sonic is DOA, bro. To me, at least. People listening may be interested in it, but to Randall Thor 19, Sonic might as well just be not even exist at this point. They should have picked a different, at least Skull and Bones. I know nobody cares about Skull and Bones. They were supposed to release the day before God of War Ragnarok. At least they had the common sense to be like, maybe this isn't the best release date. And they moved to next year. Sonic, you know what? Maybe you should have moved. I don't know. What do I know?
Listen, RK128 is going to be very hurt with you. He says, hey, Dukes, I know Matty isn't on today, but in his spirit, hope you both don't mind answering this. What's your gut check on Sonic Frontiers going into its launch next week? I went from being meh on the game to having my copy pre-ordered digitally on my Series X.
Wow.
I can't believe Sonic has a better Metacritic score than God of War kind of day.
Okay, well, if that happens, could you imagine what Twitter would be like that day if Sonic, would that mean Sonic is really that good, or was God of War really that bad? If Sonic had a better Metacritic than God of War.
Yeah, that would be Sonic is just like on some Breath of the Wild when it first went to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what that would mean to me, because I already know God of War, in my opinion, is going to be solid. Everything I've seen from it, I can't anticipate them completely dropping the ball on any level. So that would be, Sonic is really amazing. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I mean, look,
speak
why,
your mind.
Why, Sega? Like, why that day? Like, move your day, bro. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to hate on it. They got momentum, Sonic, movies, the pop culture. Sonic is back. Don't get me wrong. So I'm gonna say, Sonic is back, but it's just like, I don't know if this is humorous. Someone need to talk to you. Move your day.
To be fair, I believe God of War Ragnarok is just PS4 and PS5.
True.
So it's not on Xbox.
True.
And it's not on PC. And I believe Sonic is on PC and on Xbox and PlayStation.
That is true.
Is there a Switch version, or is the Switch version coming later?
That is a good question.
I want to say there is a Switch version, but it's not coming at launch.
Okay.
I could be mistaken on that. Look, I'm happy for all my Sonic bros out there that got their Sonic game. I'm happy for Everborn Saga, number one fan on Twitter of it. I just personally, when you ask me about it, I'm just not interested. Maybe I would be if nothing else was coming out in this week, where it'd be like, all right, I got nothing to play. Let me just check out this Sonic game. But like with God of War, literally the next day, it's like,
oh no, it's on Switch, bro.
It is on. So is it also releasing the same on
Switch,
November 8th?
Switch, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Steam, Epic Store. It says Epic coming soon. So the only one that is so I'm assuming Switch, release. It's there. It doesn't say like it's a separate date like how the Epic Game Store one is. So, yeah, I mean, it does have those multiple platforms. What about them sales? I'm just joking. We got to see. This is a bold move. Hopefully it's well. I just got to be honest. I'm in the same boat as you. No disrespect, and I'm a say kid, but I got to see.
I guess there's like
God of War first.
God of War is only on one platform. Sonic Frontiers is literally on everything. So
Switch
maybe
could be a difference.
Yeah, so you got Switch, PC, Xbox, PlayStation. So maybe Sega knows what they're doing on this one, where it's like all the different platforms. I maybe Switch carries it, bro. Switch is
Provided it's a good game.
provided it's also a good port and it's a good game, and we'll find out soon enough.
Exactly. So let's get into what we are playing. Rand got some interesting choices. What you been rocking, man?
So rocking. I recently completed the campaign of Modern Warfare 2. I liked it. I didn't love it, and it wasn't as good as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, the reboot. What they seem to be going for in this one is definitely a more grounded, tactical, close encounters type experiences. If you remember in 2019, there was a level called Clean House, where there was a bunch of terrorists in this building, and you had to go up the stairs really slowly, clear the rooms. I haven't really done that in the game before, and people loved that level. I loved it. It seemed to me that like Infinity Ward took that feedback and sort of made like almost an entire game around that, because you do that a lot in this game, where you go through different houses, you go through different rooms, people pop out at you. I played it on Veteran to begin with. Probably not the smartest choice, because you just get instantly killed in those scenarios because you don't know where the enemies are. They also try to do different things. I'll give them credit for trying to like think outside the box and do different things. There is a level where like you are in a car and you're driving and you're trying to get to the front of the convoy. So basically you're kind of hijacking other cars to get further and further and further. Definitely feels like somebody played the Uncharted 4 levels where you're doing that, but it's like obviously nowhere close to that level. And that level goes on way longer than it really should. And then one of the things I hate most about games recently, crafting. I don't like crafting.
Really?
They added a level in this where you have to craft.
Mandatory crafting?
Mandatory crafting, because the situation you're put in is you're by yourself, you don't have your weapon, and people are hunting you. So you got to use things in the environment.
You're doing the MacGyver.
You're doing the MacGyver. You're doing So like you're crafting. You're crafting different things, and it works better than like the driving level. It's implemented better, I should say. It just, that level itself seems also to go on way too long, and then they bring it back for the finale, which completely kills the pacing of the entire ending.
Got it.
So it's like, okay, I appreciate you trying to do different things, thinking outside the box for what a Call of Duty game should be, but it really, if you're going to do it, these sort of things need a little bit more time in the oven. And the pacing in the beginning, it was... a lot of the early levels were quick, and then would be punctuated by like the little cinematics. So it sort of did feel like you were watching like a Sicario movie, right?
Oh, nice. All right.
But it kind of screwed up the pacing of the gameplay, because it was like it would be really short, and then you watch like an extended cinematic and get back into it. And in the beginning of it, I was just like, man, this isn't really, it's not what I really want from Call of Duty. You did get some of the more bombastic stuff a little bit later on. But when you think about like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you think of those expansive war, like there's no level in this where it's like Modern Warfare 2 where you're storming the White House and the iconic imagery you have, or you're storming and sneaking through that like the level in the snow, and you're stealthing through it, and then you're on the snowmobiles as you're going shoot. Like there's none of those crazy ridiculous set pieces that Call of Duty's been known for in the past. This is definitely a slower paced, more grounded special ops tactical stuff, which I think has its fans. This game just didn't hit the highs that Modern Warfare 2019 did for me. So we'll see what they do for Modern Warfare 3, because you probably presume they're going to do, after this week where it's 800 million in the biggest ever Call of Duty, you would imagine if Microsoft takes, Modern Warfare 3, you want to do that one again? Okay, no problem. Yeah. Right. So
gotta milk it, baby. You gotta milk it.
You gotta do that.
That's what you've been rocking.
I've also been playing, I just finished Gotham Knights.
Oh,
Yeah.
Matty had things to say about
Matty
that.
had things to say. Matty's wrong though.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I don't get anybody else's opinions about games, and we all like or don't like things other people like. I gotta say, I had a great time with Gotham Knights, bro.
Wow.
Even with the 30 frames on console, I played it on console.
You 30 frames in it,
30
bro?
framed it, bro. I 30 framed it, and yes, the 30 frames is rough. I would much prefer 60 frames in every game. It does impact some of the enjoyment because sometimes it feels sluggish and it does drop frames in the open world. So it's like, I sit there and I was like, oh, come on. Like, couldn't you have dropped the 4K resolution and ray tracing? Give me a 1440p. The game would have been, I like the game quite a bit. It would have been even much better at a silky smooth 60 FPS.
A little performance mode, please.
But there was just something about this game where it was like, I really like playing as Red Hood and Robin and Nightwing. I felt the combat was engaging and fun throughout the 45 hours I played it as.
That
I
seemed
played
to be
it.
the opposite of what everybody else is saying about this
You know,
combat.
everybody else is wrong.
Ooh,
You know?
Okay.
Everybody else, only person who's right is Ryan.
Okay.
No, I'm
No,
kidding.
fair enough if you enjoy it. I guess-
enjoyed, like, look, I bought, like, Saints Row and I hated it. I got a couple hours and I'm like, whoa, this game's bad. Whatever. I bought this because I was like, you know what? I'm a DC guy. I'm a Batman.
That's
Batman's
why I
my
want to push
dude.
back. Are you sure your
Yes, because
DC
if it was
fandom may
No,
be
no, no, no.
clouding your judgment? Maybe just a
absolutely
little-
not. Absolutely
Okay,
not.
okay,
Because if it was if I wasn't enjoying it, I would have stopped playing it. But I couldn't stop playing it. I was playing it every single night for like 6 hours. I was having so much fun doing all the different crimes and stuff. Not to say the game's perfect, because it's not. And I would only probably give it a 7.5 or maybe 8 at the highest, because there are things wrong with the game. Performance being a big thing wrong with the game. And some of the, like, when you play through it, a lot of the crimes are repeated. So it's like, once you kind of go through a bunch of the crimes, it's like you don't really see much new, and the open world isn't really that interesting. It doesn't even really look like Gotham to me. But I mean, the pluses were, like, I found the combat engaging. Each of the 4 characters play completely different than one another. I enjoyed the story for the most part. The case files that you do. The boss battles, I played the game in solo. The boss battles seem to be geared towards co-op, so they took me a long time to chip through Harley Quinn and Mr. Freeze's health bars and stuff. But I mean, I'm not sure I'd recommend this game though.
Okay.
Because
that's
I
fair.
don't
That's
think it's worth $70 if you haven't bought it already. It's definitely it definitely doesn't. It's not next gen. I feel like if you wait, not only will you be rewarded with a cheaper price, you probably will be rewarded with a performance mode of some
frames.
kind and some frame rate. But all I can really say is that I put about 50 hours into it. I even started a new game plus. I got all the achievements, and like that's how much I like this game. Is I got all the achievements in it, and I don't really do that for games anymore.
Wow!
So I really liked it, man. I really did.
Fair enough. There's one more on your list that you got.
One more, yeah. The reviews just came out for this today, called the Entropy Center, which I haven't finished it, so keep in mind. It's because I started playing it yesterday. It's basically Portal. So it's like you solve these different puzzles, but the whole thing is that the whole thing about this one is that you use a gun that also talks to you. It's kind of cute, but you solve puzzles by rewinding things in time. So like a lot of the puzzles are like, okay, you need to put something on this pressure plate and this pressure plate, and it opens up the door. But what this gun does is it rewinds things in time. So you essentially almost have to solve puzzles from the solution backwards, right? So you have to like put things on a plate to open up the door. So you'd be like, all right, I got 2 plates here. This plate opens up the door, and this plate opens up the final door. So what I have to do is I have to put this on this plate, and then put this on this other plate. So you put it on the final plate, and then pick it up and then put it on the plate that opens up the door. You go through the door, use the gun to rewind the plate so it goes back to that first plate you put it on to open up the final door. Those are essentially how you solve most of the problems in this. But then, of course, as you go on to add more things to prevent you, springboards, different types of boxes. So the puzzles become a lot more complicated, and you'll be sitting there and you'll be like, I've had situations where I was sitting there and be like, how the heck do I solve this? Because you need to think differently, because you need to think from the solution backwards a lot of the times, being like, okay, well, I need to put this here, 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 and here, and here. So I need to start here, 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 and here, and here, and then rewind things as I'm going. It's a very, very interesting concept. And they tie it together with an interesting story about essentially how the Earth is constantly being destroyed by cataclysmic events. Mm-hmm. And the center that you're on the moon rewinds time on Earth and then gives the data to people on Earth being like, oh, this went wrong, so the people know how to fix it. So that's kind of like the setup. I think I'm halfway through. Mm-hmm. I got to a puzzle last night that really stumped me, so I was kind of like, all right, I need to take a break. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking for a Portal-like experience that has pretty interesting writing with a mechanic that I haven't really seen before in a game about rewinding things and their entropy, definitely check it out.
Yeah, no, say no more. Sounds very interesting, very intriguing. Like some of the things you were talking about as far as the time mechanic and utilizing the puzzles sounds cool. For me, it's been a little bit lighter on crazy week, but been rocking about that Persona.
Persona. You've been trying to get me to play it, sir.
Yeah, there's this game that a lot of Xbox fans always complain that these style of games miss the platform, but now
have I been one of those people complaining about it?
I'm just saying,
I mean, I think the Japanese game should come to the platform, but
absolutely,
you don't want them to skip your platform. But Randall Thor, isn't the one out here being like, I need Persona 5 because.
So you're against the move?
I'm not against it. I'm just saying I wasn't one of where it's like I need it, and then not someone who doesn't actually play it, where it's you're capping for it, but you didn't actually
play it.
You actually want it. Yeah. But I do kind of want to play. It's a lot of time. It's a time commitment. And Randall Weeb, we'll see. I told you, I'm trying to clear my schedule at some point of these games where it's like, all right, I can try it out and see if I like it.
Part of the problem, these Xbox fans, they talk all this talk about Xbox needs to do more, then Xbox delivers, and where they are. I'm just joking. But look, when you get to, you play games, so I'm just giving you a hard time. But this is a really good game. Like, Joker as a character is so cool. I'm really enjoying it. I'm liking the date. Like, basically the cadence of the game is like, there's the real world and then the other world. But in the real world, you get up in the morning, you go to school. It's like a calendar day, right? And it's not like super monotonous, but it's like cool, the things and the people and the things that you interact with. The fighting is absolutely, the fighting system is Matty is so right about this. Like, the fighting system is so cool with the way they utilize turn-based. Again, when you play this game, Rand, it jumps off the page like it's a comic. It's something about it. It's a very uniquely art-styled game. Let me just give it up right now. People have been telling me on Twitter, because they see, when I do my health is wealth and I put up my gym, I always usually do cardio to video game music. That's like my thing. So, because for me, video game music, like, it's an emotional thing. It takes me to a moment when you're fighting that crazy boss, or you play a game that you played a lot and the theme is in your head. You remember what you did. You remember what you was playing. So, like, I was playing this game for I remember when I first booted the game up, a week ago, and there was a beat, and I'm like, yo, what's this? Like, this is hard. Like, the name of the song is called Tension. And I'm like, yo, I didn't know what the name of it was at the time, but I was like, yo, whatever this is, I need to, I literally hunted this thing now.
Really?
Found it, put it on my, my thing for the iTouch for when I work out. And like, I'm doing cardio, like, yeah, I was in that, like, it is fire. Like, the music, they've really done a complete package. And I'm dying to know where this goes. They got a lot of mature themes that, what I'm saying? It has humor. It's so good. So I've been enjoying the ride, still rocking Persona 5. And the cool thing is I got a chance to play it when I was waiting for I recently had some eye surgery, and I was in the waiting room, and I was like, let me bust it out. You know what I'm saying? And I bust out had the key sheet. I said, let me throw it. Bro, this game is perfect for cloud.
Well, Jez talks about that all the time. How the game's perfect for cloud, how Diablo 4 will be perfect for cloud and stuff like that. And I know people love Persona 5. The reviews bear it out. I'm just kind of I'm not sure turn-based is it for me, but there are people I trust that tell me I would enjoy the story and stuff like that.
Bro, it's over the top.
I downloaded it, so at least there's that. It's on my hard drive.
All right.
It's on my hard drive, so it's there waiting.
Right.
It's just a matter of like, okay, I got God of War coming up, Pentiment's coming.
I get it.
And then like I want to play Callisto Protocol and Need for Speed, so it's like I need that time.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I will say this. I will definitely check it out at some point.
Yeah,
it's a matter of time.
No, I get it. There's a lot of games. You definitely need to. It's one of those games when you boot it up, you feel like, yo, this is a masterpiece. What I'm about to play right now, this feels special. That's the kind of energy. So yeah, it's been a lot of Persona 5. And the other thing, obviously, I gotta rep for the home team a little bit. So obviously I got the Pro and for the MetaQuest Pro and Demio, man. It's just a phenomenal game. Like I talked about turn-based as far as there's only 2 games that I feel that are new to the genre that have already made tremendous impact. The first one I would say is Gears Tactics. I thought Splash Damage and Coalition did a phenomenal job for their spin on tactical, which is kind of execution, go again, against numerous odds and stuff like that. Cinematic, #just one energy with a story, bosses, tough, good game. Like Demio just flips everything on its head because Red, I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not the Dungeons and Dragons kind of dude, right?
Okay.
But this is 4-player co-op skill class. You got your classic tropes, your archer, your mage, your guardian knight, and they all, knight's like the tank, the sorcerer could do like all these abilities from distance, but they also could control the battlefield by stunning enemies and locking them in place for a turn, that kind of thing. Then you got the hunter who has the long lines of sight, who can see down the dungeons farther than anybody, also can manipulate the environment, shoot these poison things, spread, like you could do a lot of AoE stuff. They got a lot of new characters. Oh, they also have a bard, so it reminds me of The Witcher, and he kind of like buffs the party with his little thing. He's actually a very powerful support character. Anyway, the thing about this game that people got to understand is, first of all, graphics, the sound, absolutely amazing. The bosses themselves are some of the best, challenging, like rewarding, like with mechanics, and you're like, yo, how do we beat this thing? And it's one of those things. So you usually each level has about 3 dungeon levels. It's like the first level is kind of light. Second one is tougher enemies, stuff like that. And then the way it works is you have like a hand of cards, and like those are cards specifically to the ability of that character, right? And he has a whole deck of cards that could happen at one time, but I think the max you can have is 10. Every time you kill someone, you get the ability to level up to get extra cards, and it's as a group. So we're playing together. You doing a lot of killing. You're up in the bank for the group, and then when we fill it to 100, everybody gets an additional card to get an ability again. The other thing is you have this one card that's your intrinsic ability that you will always have in your hand, and that's like your special move, so to speak. And some of them have like a one, like the assassin can go invisible. Right? He can move around the battlefield for 2 turns at last. Each one has a thing. But the thing about this game, now that I'm on Pro, is that I'm using a mixed reality. So I'm literally putting the board in this room, and I can still see that Silver Surfer statue. I can see, like, I'm literally placing it on a table. You can do whatever you want with it. And that effect of virtual reality is amazing. Shout out to PlayStation VR. I think they actually made the deal with Demio as well. Xbox, you got to get on it, because I think PlayStation even has the technically the non-3D, the non-VR version, which you would be interested in. So, look, it's phenomenal. They're about to come out with a PvP mode. Sadly, they just announced that it's going to get delayed to the time of 2023. But look, it's a phenomenal game. It's one of my best games of that year, and they continue to support it. So, salute to the Demio team. You know what I'm saying? I've been rocking that, Resolution Studios and all that. But we got some show to get into. Warm-up questions. Unkempt Hawk. Hello, Dukes. Question for Rand. I know you recently read the Stormlight Archives, and as a huge fan of the series myself, I find myself wondering what a video game adaptation would look like. Who would you want to see make this game? And what kind of game would you want to see? There's so many options, in my opinion, ranging from a stealth game using light weaving, or even a straight-up action game where you play a windrunner or just a soldier in shard plate. Keep on spreading the word of the Stormlight Archives and have a I've been sent to Bridge 4 kind of day.
Ooh.
I don't know what any of this means.
You have no idea what any of this means.
I have no any of that.
No
I said
clue.
this is for Rand.
No clue, but that's an amazing write-in. Yes, I love me some Stormlight Archive. It is from Brandon Sanderson, who's probably, outside of George Martin, probably fantasy's biggest author right now, because George did Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
George
knows Game of Thrones. Brandon Sanderson is also the guy that actually finished my favorite series, Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, because he died. And Brandon came in and finished the last 3 books, but he has his own series, which is absolutely incredible. And yeah, I've thought about that too. And Brandon is a big video game addict. He loves Dark Souls and Elden Ring. In fact, he just had his Halloween stream where he dressed up as the turtle priest from Elden Ring. He loves video games, and I think he's writing the story and stuff of it was at Keeley's show, the devs of Subnautica, their new game with the tabletop RPG stuff.
Yeah.
Moonbreakers, I believe it's called.
Okay.
So Brandon actually kind of wrote the story and the backstory for it. So yeah, I've kind of thought myself, like, Stormlight Archive, like, what would it be? And it probably would have to be some sort of action adventure game, like, in my mind, because there's a lot of flying around, there's a lot of swords and armors, so a lot of those sort of battles. I was thinking maybe like Crystal Dynamics in the vein of like Tomb Raiders might work, or even something like Naughty Dog and how they do some of their stuff. But there's a lot of flying, there's a lot of combat. It's currently my favorite series in fantasy right now. I would love to see it adapted. And I too wonder what type of adaptation should it take. I'm sure there's a lot of different people will have a lot of different takes on it, but yeah, that's the question I've never really thought about. I would probably go more action heavy with the dueling, and then more so of the stealth nature that one of the other characters kind of deals in. Okay. But that's definitely maybe we see a game from that in the future. You never know.
Especially if your man is, such a gamer himself. All it takes is the right bag in the right studio. You never know, right? We'll see what happens. Great write-in. Shout out to next one, Macro. Greetings, Lord Clutch and Million Gamer Score Baby Rand. I know this pertains to Matty more so, but I've been motivated to write in about the Gotham Knights slander. Personally, my experience and that of people I know with the game has been very positive. It runs great on my PC, below minimum specs, and I love the story environments and even kind of like the combat. Wow, sounds familiar. Yet I go online and see discussions about it being a plain, outright bad video game.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, have you ever had an experience or opinion of a game that's so distractingly different from the general consensus that you have to make sure the world isn't gaslighting you? Thanks for the show, guys, and props to Cog and Rand for holding down the fort. So, Rand, you've been
I feel like I needed Matty here for the counterpoint.
Yes, we needed Matty for this one. Yeah.
I need the counterpoint here, because I know Matty didn't like this game. I can't really think of a time where I liked something so much that other people sort of hated. Or I guess maybe I hated something that everybody else sort of liked. So like in recent memory, it's this, right? And I think the game, people look at reviews and they're like, 70. What's it like? Gotham Knights right now on Metacritic? Is it high 60s, low 70s?
Let's see what's going on with Gotham.
I mean, yeah, like granted, like when you make a game, you probably want a higher score than the 7, but a 7 is, that's a good score. It's just that everybody's so accustomed to like everything being the only things worth playing are being
69
like
Metacritic.
69, so it's basically a 70. The only things worth playing are 8s and above, right? Which is kind of a poor use of the scale. I can only really speak to my experience. I've been playing a lot of it with Colt Eastwood, and he feels the same, where it's like you tweet about it, and you get people come in there and being like, how you like this game? It's trash. And it's like, listen, I'm not saying you should play this game. I'm just saying I'm enjoying my time with it. And people just, I don't know how people, like, it's weird because I would never do that to somebody else. Right?
Reach.
If like somebody else was like, I'm really enjoying this game, or, you know, when people are like, I'm really enjoying this Nintendo game, and you know me, I don't give two flying F's about any Nintendo game. You know what I mean?
Love Nintendo.
But I'm not going in these people's threads being like, that game's trash, Nintendo's trash, you're you know, I don't, because it's whatever. I let people enjoy what they like. So yeah, I like Gotham Knights. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm not telling everybody they should play it, because if you wait, it'll go on sale and probably be better performance-wise. And I think they're adding a 4-player co-op mode and all this different stuff. But I have noticed that there are people out there who, when talking about this game and saying, if you do like it, that will be in your replies being like, it's trash. What? Why do you like that trash? Well, you know, like it's so odd to experience.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I can't speak to another point where, at least in my mind, that I remember where I liked something that everybody else didn't, and I was getting hate for it.
Yeah.
Outside of this, really.
No, bro. I mean, you know, it's a great point. First of all, excellent point on just that weird energy sometimes I see by gamers, which is like, you know, if someone's enjoying something and it's just like, why are you playing that? Or like somebody jump on your timeline and you like, say you post a picture of something, like, oh, that game's trash. Just, I don't know. I've never been a fan of like trying to disrespect somebody's enjoyment. So that's just weird energy. Because to me, it means you're not enjoying what you're doing because you got too much time to be worried what I'm doing and telling me that what I like is not good. So it's just like, it's just weird energy to me. But anyway, I think the only time for me, I mean, it's been a lot of times, but I mean, the one that I think probably more starkly, I was wondering if you read like,
come on, bro.
What?
Right to Destiny, bro. Come on.
Destiny's the easy choice, but I'm gonna give you something better.
That's the one like where you like Destiny, and there's so many people that have come to you and be like, Destiny's crap. Yeah. What are you wasting your time on it for?
But I've destroyed them now because it's the longest running console successful, you know what I mean? Like,
my point was more that you've experienced this because you like Destiny, and there's definitely very vocal people that don't like Destiny.
Especially vanilla Destiny. Vanilla Destiny, absolutely. And it was warranted. It was like half-baked and it came out the door with no story and grimoire cards. And it was rough. It was spooky, but I just love the potential of it. But I'm going to give you something better. Like, the one for me that I remember people were dragging because it was not cool to like Xbox during this period was the Xbox One generation. That Rise, Son of Rome, bro. Because I remember like it was yesterday. Despite, I mean, you've had this conversation. Despite the awful reveal of the console and TV, right? Which doomed them, and then this digital crazy, bad communication and marketing of how it's going to work and the digital future and connecting the box and all these different things that led to a disastrous media reveal. But after that reveal was the actual game showcase. And I've always felt, and I'll go down my sword of this, I've always felt the Xbox Games Showcase was better than a lot of people give it credit for. And I honestly like the launch games on the Xbox One more than I like than I had the PS4, because I had both. And the thing about it was, for me, when I buy a new system, right, and this is something that's plagued the Series X, I like to see something that's showcasing me. Okay, this is something you can't do that past generation, right? Like, this is something that 360, I was like, oh, I've never seen. And I'll never forget, they jumped off, they stormed the Roman Centurions, they stormed the beach, and your man Marius was like, Centurions! And I was like, I've never seen graphical fidelity. It's like Crytek was in their bag. So I'm just like, when people was talking about, yeah, but it's 900p, ha ha ha. I'm like, I don't care what it looked like. The P's is in that looked phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I get it. It had the timer combat, with the colors I get it. But for a launch game, had a phenomenal story, graphical fidelity. It gave me hope at that point that maybe the Xbox One could do something. So, yeah, I still play that. I played on Steam Deck at 60 frames per second. Damn, I wish they could have gave that 60 frames per second mode for the Series X and stuff like that. But I know it's got to be a technical difficulty because we've had Jason Rodham said. But nah, Rise Son of Rome is the greatest 900p game that I got slandered for. I still like it, and I don't care what nobody says. So that's just where I'm at with it. But we gonna move on.
Yeah, right. Rise Son of Rome is definitely an interesting one. I like that too, and people hated on. I think some of those people. Yeah, well, I think early Xbox One. I think a lot of the reviewers and people were giving crap to the games because they hated the platform's like policies.
Yeah.
So like Rise is a 60, and I'm sorry, like that game's not a 60. Like,
no, it's not.
It's not that bad. It's not like bad. Great or amazing, but it's not that bad. Man, I wish we got a sequel to Rise, bro.
Oh man! Then when I found out about the Crytek had the rights, I was like, oh man,
that was Microsoft back in those days, like letting the third parties retain the rights, and it was like they didn't want to do them, and then it's like, well, now it's like you got to own the studios, you got to own the IPs,
you got to own that. That's what I learned during the Xbox One, that they didn't have ownership, and that's why again, it's important to me for people to understand that why people love Phil so much is because 2018 gave them hope, because you saw the course correction of studio acquisition and owning, because you didn't have the rights to any of these games. Sunset Overdrive, Rise, all these games that actually were decent, that had the potential for sequel, you didn't have any type of control over it. So that's why. But yeah, good one. Shout out to the question there. Mexican Zoidberg, this one's for me. Cog, do you secretly like JRPGs now? I know you love Final Fantasy VII, but other than that, it seems getting you to play any JRPG is like pulling hair. But now we have you playing like a dragon. We have you. I like that part. We have you playing like a dragon and then Persona 5. How much longer until you don the Naruto headband and start calling Colin Senpai? Or is it the fact that these games are also on Game Pass, the reason you are willing to give them a shot? Good question, Mexican Zombie. First of all, I was a hardcore JRPG guy. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, Suikoden. I used to play Phantasy Star 2, the old Final Fantasy. I used to play all that stuff. The problem is the time investment. So it's like, these games are so long, they're so good, you've got to commit. And at this stage in my life, I just can't. You already know, you got Destiny that's taking my time. I got all these other games that I like and fringe games on the side. It's just not a time. So it's basically a business decision. Now, I will say, when Final Fantasy VII drops on any platform, I'm stopping what I'm doing and I'm playing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I have such a connection to it. Same thing like Crisis Core is coming. I'll be in on that. But yeah, it's just that. Now with Like a Dragon, I felt obligated as a person who been wanting and advocating for it on the platform, JRPGs, that I needed to play it. And then people told me it was really good. So I'm like, okay, cool. Persona 5, I always going to play. The problem I didn't play it on PlayStation was just that, again, I was such a Destiny guy. It just came out around the wrong time. And it's huge Destiny content. And when a huge expansion with Destiny, you know how it is with me, Rand. You know how I get. Mm-hmm. I'm locked in. So yeah, I always love JRPGs. I'm a JRPG OG. It's just that as I've gotten older, my time commitment, I have to space it out. I'm just not like Matty, who could just do them back to back to back to back. I got to space it out or just have selective choices. So that's what it is. Still love it. I will tell you this, though. I will break my rule on Iron and Chronicle, because that's the creator of Suikoden, which is one of my favorite PlayStation RPGs, 108 stars. I remember that game. I played 1, I played 2. Love that game. Shout out to C-Unit from lordsofgaming.net. He does tremendous articles on the history of that. So, yeah. What about you with JRPGs? Not so much, Rand.
Well, they used to be my favorite genre back in the day. I used to be all about Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Chrono Cross, Shadow Hearts, and all that stuff back when I was, younger and whatnot. I sort of fell out of turn-based. And I don't know. Like, that's why I wasn't too upset with how Final Fantasy VII Remake it sort of does stuff, or any of like the action-based stuff they go for now. What can I say? I don't know. It's just not something I enjoy anymore. It's just not something I used to love it.
What happened?
And now I don't. I guess
This question should be for you.
I got old, I guess, is what happened.
I got you.
Which is why, like, the whole Persona 5 thing with the turn-based has me a little bit like, is that going to drag it down for me?
I see. That's valid.
You
I
know?
mean, based on your gameplay, I mean, I'm very curious. I'm very curious if you get time when you boot it up, and I'm dying to know what your opinion of that is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But we're going to move on to a name I'm actually familiar with, the Muffin Man. Mm-hmm. Hello, Cog, and is his real name Randy Thor?
No, my real name is Matthew. A lot of people don't know that. Like, it's just like, what? I thought your actual name was Rand. Like, no, I have a very, very common, very bland first name, Matthew. So, yeah.
No, just got that exclusive for the LSFM. So, firstly, glad to hear that your surgery went well, Cog. Thank you. My question this week, with the recent news that PlayStation financial reports coming out, I see a lot of people reacting worryingly to the loss of PlayStation Plus subscribers. But isn't this a bit of an overreaction? My view is that all the financials for both Xbox and PlayStation were bumped due to the pandemic, and now they're returning to normal levels. Curious to know if you guys have the same thought. I'm a Plague Tale's #1 fanboy and can't wait for the spoiler cast kind of day. The Muffin Monster.
Wait, you got a Plague Tale spoiler cast coming?
Oh yeah.
Bro, I gotta be on that, bro.
Oh, you want to get in?
Bro, I have to be. I love that game.
Okay, it's going down. Matty said it's going down, so I was like, absolutely, I'll get to it.
Dude, count me in.
All right, say less. We'll figure this out for sure. You know, we got to get people who love the game, played it, beat it, all that kind of. I'm the one that's behind. I got to actually play it and beat it because Persona came and got me. I know. I'm gonna get it done. That's going down. So, real quick, I just want to mention. I know this is shout out to the Sacred Boys. This is generally kind of like a PlayStation-y, but Muffin Man did link it into Xbox and PlayStation financials, and I'm curious, Rand, what are your thoughts? You know, obviously we heard
I didn't know
reports.
we'd have a PlayStation. All right, so
yeah. So in relation to Xbox and the pandemic, and
so
what do you think?
So I mean, I guess there's a couple things here. Xbox just had their reports, their financial reports. They had their best Q1 in the history of Xbox, so they're doing good. They're doing great, actually, right? PlayStation, I think, just also reported, if I'm not mistaken, their highest revenue Q2 ever for a console manufacturer. So it's like, okay, money's there too. There are obviously some drawbacks, right? Phil's talked about the growth of GamePass on console being a little bit slower, which, you know, makes a lot of sense because a lot of people own the consoles, and a lot of people on console are subscribed. So you're sort of gated by how many consoles you can sell to get new people in there. And on the PlayStation side, they lost subscribers during a time when they revamped PlayStation Plus, right? So is that really a good look? You're offering this new revamped PlayStation Plus service, and 2 million people left a subscription. I always said that the new PlayStation Plus, and you can check the tapes on this, wasn't about getting new subscribers. It was about getting more money from your current subscribers, which was the case because PlayStation reported that this was, I think, like their highest ever quarterly subscription revenue.
Yes.
So the people who are subscribed to PlayStation Plus are now actually paying more for it. So Sony's making more money despite people unsubscribing. I think the problem is, and Phil sort of talked about this, about being the console market only being like 200 million households or whatever, is that I think both Sony and Microsoft have hit the ceiling on how many people are willing to pay for multiplayer. Because I think that's what still people view PlayStation Plus as the way to pay for multiplayer. Mm-hmm. And Sony has not been able to break through that 50 million barrier. And I would say like that probably goes the same for Xbox. There's just only a certain amount of people that are willing to pay to play multiplayer, especially now with all the multiplayer games essentially being free and not needing it. Mm-hmm. So now you need to come up with other things, other ways to get people to subscribe. And I'm sorry, I don't really think the PlayStation Plus offering is really good enough for someone who doesn't want to pay for multiplayer and is looking at it as like, is this really worth it for me? And I think the answer to that question is no, which is why you see people unsubscribe. On Xbox's side, you see the growth. I think they're starting from a smaller number, right? PlayStation Plus is in the 40s, upper 40s, and Game Pass isn't. Last time we know it was at 25, so they still got some ways to catch up. But Game Pass is still offering new experiences day one, right? You got Somerville coming out next week, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, alongside Pentiment. Plague's Tale just came out. Persona finally came to the platform as day one. I know people will say they're indie games, and that is true, but they are offering day one experiences. And when you get to the situation where Starfield's day one, and Redfall's day one, and Minecraft Legends is day one, and Forza's day one, and Hellblade and Avowed are all day one, you could up in a situation where maybe that is combined with the PC, where there's a lot of growth there. Maybe that is the way to break through the ceiling of people who actually want to pay for multiplayer. So like on the face of it, if you're an investor and you're looking for infinite growth, which is what these investors want, obviously it's not good, because that's just not going to happen. And we are coming down from the pandemic, and people, especially with the economic situation, with the recession coming in and inflation, everybody's looking at their monthly expenses and are like, do I really need PlayStation Plus? Do I really need Xbox Game Pass? And some people are like, no, I don't. So it's something that, they can cut out. So I think it's a combined of, it's coming back to normal, but then also a lot of these services kind of already at the ceiling for the most part, trying to figure out what's the way to break through. And at least on Xbox's side, you still have the PC side of things, which PlayStation doesn't have. And Xbox still has the mobile side of things, when that eventually starts going. So they have a little bit more on their side where it can grow a little bit further. It's just a matter of getting there, where PlayStation's like, PlayStation Plus is still mainly about multiplayer, and we've kind of hit that limit. Yeah, it'd be a different story if they were adding God of War or these other big Sony exclusives. You probably see more people subscribe. They're interesting positions because both of these companies have never made as much money. So it's like people are worried about, you lost this MAU and you're losing all the subscribers. But at the end of the day, it's like PlayStation and Xbox have both never made as much money as they're currently making. So
that profitable talk again, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I don't really have too much to add to it. Just the fact that I think it is multiple factors. I do agree. Obviously we heard about the 2 million loss, and at first it does sound shocking. Like, wow, 2 million loss. Like, what's going on? And you look at the trends, you look at the analytics. But I looked at the revenue. That was the first thing, and I'm like, okay, they're making more money now. And that's what big corporate likes to hear. Big corporate likes to hear, that the revenue's coming in. On the Xbox side, when they talked about with Phil, and I've always maintained something that people always felt like Game Pass has to be the end all be all model for Xbox. And I've always said, I've felt that they've had like a hybrid approach. And now he's actually come out and said it, which is like, look, we get it, but we've kind of, like you said, reached that threshold, so to speak, as far as console subscribers, right? And then it becomes, okay, how else can you get outside of this pie, outside of this box? And that's where PC comes in. That's where mobile comes in. That's where these, the Activision Blizzard, the king portion of the deal comes in. They're looking to try to expand that pie. And I think that's the long play. And we just got to see how it plays. Sony's business was a little different. And I think with them, they're still trying to figure things out in that space. But the fact that they pivoted to a service, to me, I felt was a big deal. They understand that there's still adaptability there they're going to have to do. So it is something to pay attention to. Now, obviously, if it's next year and it's like, they lost again, and you just continue, losing of subscribers in conjunction now with revenue affected, then I'll have, my antenna up. But for right now, not as much. So. But yeah, that was that. Shout out to Muffin Man. But we're going to get into the news, Ran. We got stuff to talk about. And as King would say, Phil Dominus was outside. Phil Spencer, man. Shout out to Same Brain podcast. So he made a couple statements, and he said this is the one that kind of like hit the headlines pretty big. Acknowledged it's been a quiet year for first party Xbox games.
Quiet year is an understatement.
Watch your mouth. We claim that 2023 will be far busier for the platform holder.
Cross your fingers.
One thing we've definitely heard loud and clear is it's been too long since we shipped what people would say is a big first party game. We can have our excuses with COVID and other things, but in the end, I know people invest in our platform and they want to have great games. But I look at 2023 and there's a great lineup of games coming that I'm excited about. Getting our first real Xbox first party games out of Bethesda, having them shipped with Redfall and Starfield will be a lot of fun. He also went on to state that Xbox is doing a lot more work on PC and that it would launch a big update for its Xbox app in a few weeks. So this has been making the rounds. This is the hot one. You know, we've heard
You sure it's the hot one? I saw the Call of Duty one making the rounds as well.
Yeah, I made the
We'll ship Call of Duty as long as they're a PlayStation to ship it to.
That is true.
He's still what he's really going to do is he's going to remove Call of Duty once the There's still people that talk like, I don't know how Phil can be more apparent when it comes to Call of Duty. He literally said, as long as there's a PlayStation to ship it to, we're going to ship it on PlayStation.
You don't think it's a nefarious plan?
Yeah, you never know. Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, as coined by ILP. He's out there. He had some things to say. He must have been in the LA area because he was at the Wall Street Journal Live, and then he did the
Did you see the backdrop though?
Oh yeah,
backdrop was glorious.
A glorious backdrop.
Yeah, I was like, damn, he's outside for real, for real.
And now he does this interview with iJustine. Must have been in the same area. A little bit more relaxed sort of interview than Wall Street Journal. I mean, look, the excuses, what people would say about 2022. I mean, you can only really say the games are coming for so long before people just completely just have had it with you, right? So it's like, yeah, he even says the word excuses, right? In the quote. Read that quote again. Go to the back to that quote and read
We can have our let me back up. He said it's been too long since we shipped what people would say is a big first party game.
Yes.
We can have our excuses with COVID and other things, but in the end, I know people invest in our platform and they want to have great games.
Because people don't want to hear the excuses anymore. For a lot of people, the pandemic's over. And if the pandemic's over, then COVID impacting development of games is a thing of the past, right? So I think people see PlayStation putting out games, they see Nintendo putting out games, and they're like, what about us over here at Xbox? Not to say that Grounded isn't a great game, because it is, or that As Dusk Falls wasn't a good experience, which it was, and more than likely Pentiment's going to be good, but I mean, those are smaller appetizers that are supposed to sit around the big, juicy steaks of the Redfalls and the Starfields. So when you remove those, it's like, man, it's dry over here on Xbox first party wise. So, I mean, I don't know what else he's supposed to say. He was asked about it. Of course, he's going to say, hey, next year is going to be great. We got a lot of interesting things coming. And hopefully, crossing my fingers, next year is, because people have been saying next year's always the year.
Wait till next year, bro.
Yeah, wait till next E3. Like, it's always the next year. And, you know, at some point, this kind of goes into the conversation that me and you have had recently. Should we let the audience, is this where you wanted to let the audience
Let's set you up.
This?
You right there. You close. But let me answer before you set it up.
Okay.
I'm going to answer the initial comments. I'll respond to the initial comment, and then we're going to set up what we really here for, the main event between me and you that you know we've been talking offline. So, look, you know, my initial thoughts, okay, kudos for Phil to jump it out and actually saying it, right? Because it's the elephant in the room that everybody knows. You know, 2022 was supposed to be the year that was promised, and we didn't get Redfall, and we didn't get Starfield. And let's take it back, Rand. I would say, and I think me and you've had this discussion offline, that, in my opinion, was at least a top 5 bad moment for Xbox. And the reason why I said it is because that was the first time I can recall no big AAA first party release for a whole calendar year. And again, we're being respectful to As Dusk Falls, amazing game. Grounded, it's fire, right? Don't get me wrong, we get it, but we don't consider those AAA, right? We don't consider those, you know, Grounded was a very small team. that kind of blew up into something, and it's great. But that was the thing, and I'll never forget, bro. It was there was a civil war going on social media.
Yeah, people were upset,
and for the first time, I got to be honest, I seen people really come for Phil. Like really, like where leadership is questioned, right? And they're like, what's going on over there? How come you don't have it? And look, was I disappointed? Absolutely, right? It wasn't demoralized. Starfield was the game for me. Outside, before Midnight Sun, Starfield was the game, so, and then even though like Redfall, I had my curiosity. Right. So it was one of those things like, okay, I'm willing to give Redfall a chance, see what's going on. But Starfield, now we got those 2 games, it's a phenomenon. Now those come off the plate. You hear about that. Then it's like, okay, well, what is actually releasing, And to their credit, they're able to do some patchwork stuff here and there with GamePass, but we can't avoid what the feeling was. And like I said, Phil was getting dragged for the first time.
Because there was that. Remember, like Starfield, we're supposed to be playing Starfield in 9 days from now.
Yes.
Right? And there was that the undertone that Xbox has management problems.
Yes.
That Phil and Matt don't know how to manage their studios.
Right.
Right? And before it was like mostly focused around 343 and what's been going on with Halo Infinite.
Correct.
Right? And we've seen the studio basically completely restructure. Bonnie Ross gone. Head of the slip space engine gone, right?
Shout out to the Lords of Gaming that reported that.
Yeah. So like clearly there was problems at 343. Halo Infinite needed another year delay, but it didn't get it. So like, okay, you can point to that studio and being like, there's issues, which there clearly were. But then it was like, oh, what about what's going on at Undead Labs and State of Decay 3, right? Mm-hmm. And then you hear about everybody leaving the initiative. What's going on with Perfect Dark? And because Crystal Dynamics came on. So there's kind of like, well, man, is this all kind of wrap up into a more bigger story about how Xbox can't manage their studios? And then you drop the bombshell. Starfield, Redfall delayed, 2 games delayed at once to 2023. And now that continues it being like Phil and Matt don't know what they're doing, right? Even though it's Bethesda games, what have you. So it's like, it adds up into this perception that there's a problem, and there probably really isn't, because I think you've talked about this, like Starfield needs to, and I know Jez has, needs to hit.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So like if it needs to be delayed for it to be, because you can't have a Halo Infinite situation with Starfield.
Preach.
Like you can't have that. So it's like if the game needs to be delayed 8 months to whatever, if it delayed the full year, so it doesn't come out until next November, then whatever. Like you need to delay it to give as much time because this is kind of like the beginning of the new Xbox with Bethesda and all their first parties, and it needs to start off strong, right? So there is that narrative they're focused on. And so, yeah, because people have been waiting, right? Phil's being like, we're building up the platform. We're buying all these studios in 2018. You bought some more in 2019. You buy Bethesda in 2020. Then you buy Activision Blizzard at the beginning of this year. And it's like, oh, great, this is all for the future of Xbox. But then people are like, well, how long am I going to have to wait? And
that's the key, yeah.
That's the key. So like people were hoping to get a Fable sooner rather than later, or an Everwild or Hellblade and Avowed, but you like these games that were revealed in 2020 and we don't know anything really about them, like what's going on. Then you hear like, oh, Avowed's been rebooted or what have you. So it's like you're kind of scratching your head being like, is this indicative of a larger issue? Right.
Which is a legitimate, in fairness, it's a legitimate question. I don't want to minimize that for people who were frustrated, and many, were frustrated. I was part of it. Like, there's a legit question. I wasn't on the extreme side, like, yo, there's all these problems, and they like, because the talk was like, oh, he's got to go. Like, I remember that. Like, it was like, oh, Phil has to go. Like, what has he done, kind of thing. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes now. Let's not get ridiculous, because at the end of the day, we are in the short term of 2022, and that's a terrible look. I am not minimizing it, right? But at the end of the day, if you look at the body of work, and you look at how the transformation of this platform to believe in games and invest in games and deliver in games and make strides in areas that they have been traditionally weak in, and now have a competitive console for this generation, we're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to be very clear. And my thing is, sorry to interrupt you, which is that, look, we can't have it both ways as gamers. As one time we say Halo Infinite needed more time to cook. Why did they release it when it wasn't ready? Right? We've said that. But then now when it comes to Starfield, it's inexcusable if Bethesda cannot reach their target, right? And they say, hey, we need more time. What are you going to force it out the door just to say that you had a game for 2022? And it's a half-baked, glitchy mess? That's going to do more damage, the old Miyamoto quote. So my thing is, I understood the decision. It was the right, let's be clear, I feel it was the right decision to delay Redfall and Starve. That was the correct decision. As bad as it looked in the optics and the media, and he got tomatoes thrown, there's no doubt. I think it gets us now to this moment that we're about to talk about, and I'm going to let you finish your point unless you got something else.
I was just going to say, I 100% agree with you. Mm-hmm. I'm all... If you think a game needs to be delayed, it probably needs to be delayed, and it'd be better for the game if it is delayed. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're feeling it, right? It's like, we need to, like, not only do they release games because they need to keep the fans happy, like, I think releasing games also is one of the reasons why, they need Game Pass to grow, and Game Pass ain't gonna. I love the indie games as much as anybody else, but like, I don't think the indie games are what going to get people to subscribe. It's like the Starfields and the Redfalls and all that other stuff. So like, you need to start releasing your own stuff. And I think there's this kind of the thing where it's just like, at some point these games need to come out, which kind of leads into what me and you have been going on. So do you want to set it up, or do you want me to set it up?
We waited long enough.
All right.
So this is it. So S-Fish, shout out to S-Fish616, who sets it up perfectly. Hey, Cog, and welcome, Rand. With the Phil Spencer comments about the 2023 lineup, do you think we'll see Avowed in the back half of the year, or would spring 2024 be more likely? I personally think spring 2024 would be more likely, because I think Xbox would be smart to give Starfield and Avowed a good distance from each other. Yes, there are different settings, but I think have two devs making similar style games would be smart to avoid being anywhere close to each other. Will say I would gladly be wrong if it means we get Avowed and Starfield next year. Have your football team is on a 4-team losing streak kind of day. Thanks, Aaron Rodgers. Salute to S-Fish. So pretty much how we wanted to set this up, because it's been a little internal debate between me and Randolph, though. And right now, we gotta educate the people. S-Fish gotta set it up, because S-Fish is talking about Avowed, and Randolph, though, my good friend, brought that equation to me and said,
it was a hypothetical.
He was like, how would you feel about this? And what was that question? I'll let you say what the question is.
I brought this hypothetical question up to my good friend, Lord Cognito. And I was like, all right, let's imagine a scenario where 2023 comes along, right? And we're all expecting great things from Xbox, right? We know that in the beginning of next year, they have what they said. Their E3 was the first half, right? So 12 months. Yep, they got Starfield, they got Redfall, they got Minecraft Legends, they have Forza Motorsport, whatever, what have you, right? Those experiences. And everybody's wondering, like, what's the back half of 2023, to the listener's question, right? So I posed, and I'm like, what if, worst case scenario, what if 2023, let's just say Minecraft Legends gets delayed to 2024? And the only games that release next year for Xbox is a Starfield that comes out in November of 2023, a Redfall that comes out in, let's say, May, and a Forza Motorsport, let's say, that comes out in September. So to most people, it would have been like, that is what you were supposed to get in 2022. Now you're getting it in 2023. So my question was to Cog, in this worst case scenario where you get Starfield, Redfall, and Forza next year and nothing else, everything else has been delayed, how would you feel about that year? Would it be a W or would it be an L? And what was your response, sir?
And before I get into my response, this is the great debate. This is where you had our fight.
Yeah, fight. Yeah, like we were fighting.
And this is the great debate. And here, this is my mindset. And I get it. You know, we know there are games that they're either in the tuck or potentially could be ready for 2023. And the way I look at it is Xbox was very distinct in this E3 that just passed this year. Say, hey, these are the next 12 months, right? So theoretically, right, from June to June, this is what you're getting. And then, you know, look out. And we at that point, we knew Redfall, Starfield was going to be delayed. So the way I look at it is like this. Redfall, which as we see, right, looks, as we get more information about it, looking more impressive. It's gone up the ranking, I feel, you know, as opposed to questionable to like, oh, wait a minute, this might be good, right? So you got the Redfall launch. I think we could all agree we don't have to worry about Forza Motorsport. I think Turn 10 and Playground have established enough cachet that when they drop, provided an anomaly, some type of disaster that we don't know about, but their track record has shown if anything of Xbox is solid that you could put money on is a Forza game being good, right? So I'm going to go with that. And then we talk about Starfield, right? Starfield's the big one. That represents the generational change. That represents the conversation of a new IP on Xbox launching and launching strong, thus the need for the time. I personally am biased. Yes, Starfield is my most highly anticipated game. This is Bethesda's A-team. To me, when a Starfield drops, that's the equivalent of like an Elden Ring drops. I don't care what anybody say because everybody's going to put the clips up. Where were you at in the world? Where were you doing this? What was going on? Oh my God, did you encounter this planet? And if it has any bit of the classic, which we assume, Bethesda choice, story, immerse yourself in this world, character, crew, some Mass Effect energy. Now you're talking some ship, planet, No Man's Sky energy. This is big scale sci-fi, you know, masterpiece, set piece kind of energy. Shout out to the cops. They excited too. You don't hear them?
They're very excited.
The Starfield, you hear me. So basically what I'm saying is I know people use the term only, but these are three big games. And let's be clear. This is not COG saying, yo, if Hellblade, Avowed, you know, comes in the second, I'm going to be disappointed. My thought process is that's a monster year if that is the games that come out. And I know I'm in the minority here. Everybody's like, no, COG. And I just came off a great Defining Duke Ultimate with Miles Down PA, who's on your side. And he's like, no, COG, it's got to be more.
But you don't even know what my side is.
Okay, we'll finish. And this is the thing why I'm mad with you guys, right? I'm mad with the Xbox community because I'm like, okay, those are three massive games. And then we're going to act. We just talked about all these other games that are either indie, AA, or AAA third-party Game Pass day in, date. You know what I'm saying? Like the Wolongs and all these other games that we're hearing out. And we just Atomic Heart. And like, to me, let's be real. When there's a third-party game and it's day and date in Game Pass, to me, it's like an Xbox exclusive. Because I don't know about you, but I know where I'm going to play it if it's going to be day and date on a service that I'm anticipating. So you got that. Then we forgetting global publishing, right? What are they cooking? So they may be, you know, a little AA joint, and maybe a little smaller project here and there. But I think it's a bit... It's a big ask to be like, yo, you better have another AAA banger on top of those three, or it's it's the worst. This is terrible for Xbox. I'm gonna let you go because I already know we're gonna fight.
So you presented this to Miles Down PA and you asked him his thoughts, and he said,
Miles said it's an L. He agrees
It's
with
an
you.
L. Okay.
And he said
you also
okay. Sorry.
presented this to the one and only Mr. Matty
Yes,
Plays.
he doesn't agree.
And what
He
did
agrees with
what did Matty say about
you
it?
convicted me now. I see what you do. Mr. Matty Plays said it's an L. He said nope. He wants it should be another game. It should be the games that come out in 23. So I'm gonna let you defend your case now.
I mean, I also asked this to Colt Eastwood, and he said it's an L too.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process was, as you're right, those are some big games. Starfield's going to be a massive game. But I more look at like, okay, if you moved all these games from 2022, what was your plan for 2023 if you actually were able to have your plan and have those games out and come in 2022? Because I know like you have your release schedule, right? Like we got these plans for these games coming in 2023, these in 2024, so on and so forth. So the reason why people are really down on this year is because you remove two of the big hitters. Everybody thought Forza Motorsport was coming this year. Remember? Everybody thought. And then it was 2023. It was spring. Mm-hmm. You remember how people were like, what? No, I thought it was supposed to be this year. So if now you're telling people that the only games that you get from first party...
Only. I love only.
I'm just saying that the only games you're going to get are the games that you thought you were going to get a year ago, and then nothing that we were planning in 2023 because either we couldn't release it or it's been delayed. I was like, if that scenario, granted, this is worst case scenarios, I don't think it's going to happen because I'm more positive when it comes to what I think next year is going to be.
I agree with you too.
I was like, I think people would be upset. Because it's like you basically just shifted an entire year to another year, but then didn't give people anything else that they were expecting that year. So it's like, well, what were you planning to release in 2023? Would it have been nothing? And so you'd have, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, it's like,
I got a question.
Okay, you bring your question.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt. So I hear you. Mm-hmm. So my question, and remember, this was part of the debate that we had offline.
Yes.
Is I said, Rand, I'm with you if Starfield releases. The key is Starfield. And that's what goes back to our man S-Fish right now. That's why I love this question, because I said if Starfield makes its cadence in that first half of 2023, I am with you. One of the new bangers, whether it be your beloved Hellblade, whether it be Avowed actually being ready, whatever's ready. But the key to my argument is Starfield, because Starfield has to exist in a space that it can live. In my opinion, now Miles swayed me a little bit. I better watch Defy the Duke Ultimate. With Hellblade being proximity close, pretty much this. If we assume Starfield needs more time, and Starfield now has to release in, let's say, a fall or second half 2023 scenario, that to me changes everything. That to me says, hey, Starfield needs this time to shine. We cannot let anything be next to it for the most part. And thus, if we had something in the tuck, now we're in a luxury situation where we could be like, okay, you know what? Hellblade, you may be ready, or Avowed, you may be ready, but let's put you to the top of 2024. Let's space this out. Let's not do old Xbox things where we jam pack a month. Come on, we've been in this Xbox ecosystem.
Sure.
And Matty would even agree with me. If you listening, you would agree with me. You yourself on this show, as the Duke, has said, I hate when Xbox stockpiles all in 1 or 2 months.
100%.
And then the rest of the year is blah, blah, blah. So all I've
been a very vocal proponent of the fact that Microsoft needs to release games year round. I hate the fact that they always backfill the end of the year. And it looks like for the first time, it's the first half of next year is stacked, because you're going to have, assuming everything goes right, Starfield Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, Ghostwire Tokyo will hit the platform for the first time, right? Diablo 4 might be coming out at that point, which is be first party, right? But you don't know, but we don't know when it's coming, right? Not to mention Wolong is day one on Game Pass coming out in March. We talked about Atomic Heart being day one Game Pass coming out in February. You know, who knows what other sort of Game Pass deals they'll have for those months. So it does already seem sort of packed. And I feel like one of the reasons it is packed is because they have stuff planned for the end of the year.
Okay.
Right? Where I'm kind of with you. Like, if Starfield needs more time, they need to delay it. So to answer the person's question, Avowed, I feel Avowed is early 2024.
Okay.
I sort of, I don't know, like the fact that it's sort of been rebooted to be a little bit bigger scale, to differentiate itself a little bit more from Skyrim, to like take advantage of the Microsoft money and to make it bigger and better. I sort of feel like, all right, because Starfield we don't expect in the beginning of the year. Like Starfield is either probably coming in May or coming in November, right? I sort of feel like it's either the end of that first 6 months, like the May-June timeframe, or it's going to come out in the November timeframe, essentially.
How crazy!
Which, if that's the case,
ready for E3. That would be crazy.
But it really, but if you ask like someone like Jeff Grubb about this, he says that they should just release these games whenever they're ready, and it doesn't matter that Avowed and Starfield are essentially similar genres because it adds value to the service, right? He's talked about this before in his shows, where it's not that you don't need to separate it, as it's not like before where you need to space things out because it's about adding value to the service. Just like we questioned why you're releasing Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 so close to one another. Ooh. They did that and it seemed to work, and it didn't really seem to really negate either or because they are different genres.
I'm about to say,
they are different sort of experiences. So I feel like even if you had a Starfield at the end of the year, yeah, maybe it's not the best idea to release Avowed, but like, why not a Hellblade? They're completely different genres. One's going to be a completely single-player, linear, cinematic experience that maybe is 10 to 12 hours, while the other one is going to be 50 to 500-hour experience, however you choose to play it. They're completely different. Not to mention, like, you know, maybe they have like a Project Belfry or a Contraband or something that they could essentially put out in the end of the year time frame. So I think what people want is they want a year where Xbox sort of keeps their promises, right? For once, it's like this was planned and everything came to fruition. Because right now you're looking at the first half of the year and you're like, that is stacked, right? And you don't even really add Diablo 4, which could be first party at that time. You're like, damn, the first 6 months of Xbox is stacked. Granted, 2 of those games are holdovers from the previous year, right? But this year's almost over. We're almost into 2023. So then your mind goes to, all right, what you got for me for the second half of 2023?
What you got, Xbox?
And people have been wondering forever, when's Avowed coming out? When's Hellblade coming out? What about Perfect Dark? What about State of Decay 3? What about Everwild? Like all these games Xbox revealed in 2020 that we still don't really know or when to expect anything to come out. It's like, all right, what were you planning for 2023 originally before you delayed Starfield and Redfall from the previous year? They had to have had something, right? And Phil's even talked about it, how like I think we're still in that question, or maybe it was a question before. I'm losing track of time. But he even talked about like essentially what COVID's done to the production pipeline is sort of ended, right? That's in his quote. So, you know, it's just one of those things where I think people they want a year where everything goes like essentially right. And it's like you have all these games in the first half of the year and they all came out, and then you get all this extra stuff instead of just another year where it's like all we're getting is the stuff we were supposed to get.
All we get
the year before.
Banger games, Starfield. That's all we getting. But the thing is,
but the problem is you know all these other games Xbox is doing, and it's like, when are we going to play all these games that you showed me 3 years ago? Okay. You showed me State of Decay in 2020. You showed me Hellblade in 2020. You showed me Avowed in 2020. You showed me Everwild in 2020. When are we going to play these games?
I feel that.
I think people will be like, okay, it's been enough time. The excuses have run their course. I want to know. And that's why some people were frustrated with them only focusing on the 12 months at E3.
Right. Because
they couldn't. What's the future hold?
Yeah,
when are these other things coming? What other projects you're working on? So it'll be interesting to poll your audience, the Defining Duke audience here on LSM.
Let's find out what you think.
You know, what do you guys feel?
Yeah,
if it was just those 3 games.
You gotta start with that just. That's a bad. That's going towards your just.
But everybody you've presented this argument to has sided with me on this.
But look, it's okay for you guys to be wrong, and then I correct you later.
I'd love to be wrong. Don't get me. And I'm not even saying. I
just let y'all go off.
I'm not even saying this is going to happen because I don't think it will. Because I'm much more positive. It was just a hypothetical I presented to you.
Yes,
it was like, hey, what
I
happens if this?
Yes, absolutely.
And you surprised me because you were like, it's a W. And I'm like, it's a W? Yes. What are you smoking?
Yes. I think gamers are being unreasonable. I think that at the end of the day, right, and those, again, provided those games do what we expect them to do. The 2 I feel stronger about is Forza and Starfield, right? Redfall, it's moving up, though. At first, I was like, okay, I'm excited for it even before the latest trailer, but the latest trailer's got me even more. Even Matty's coming around like, yo, I ain't gonna front. I'm like, now, if Redfall comes out and sets off the new 2023 new IP, arcade, banger, vampires, let's go, and this does Deathloop energy in a vampire space, the conversation is going to shift. And then we're forgetting the in-between time, the AA, the indies, the Game Pass exclusive, global publisher, then you throw the Forza, bam, that's going to kill the European market, racing, ray tracing, graphical showpiece, simulation, bam, here comes Starfield, boom, oh Lord, and they hit it, provided it's the first half. Now I'm with you, first half? And now you got the whole second half free? Absolutely rad. You give me one of them joints that's ready. Absolutely. We're in agreement. But if Starfield is delayed, to me, it needs space to breathe. And unless, if you're talking like I don't know, maybe it's Compulsion's Project Midnight or, one of them other little projects or Contraband, who I'm not saying they're not AAA, but they didn't have that. They're not like Avowed, Hellblade, Fable level, right? Where it's like, yo, those are names that are really going to shift. Then, we'll see. I just think that, look, I get it. Guys have been waiting. Me personally, I just want the games to be right. And Starfield, your co-host even agreed, said, Starfield needs to be right. So it's all on Starfield for me. So it just depends on when it released. That's really all. I think we do agree. It's just if Starfield is second half, that's where we part. But if it's first half, then we are on the same cadence. So, but yeah, we poll it till LSM family. We've had our good debate here. What do you guys think? Do you agree with Rand Outdoor? Like, hey, it's got to be more than just those 3 games. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know. So we gonna move on because we'll go on. Me and Rand have had this conversation forever. So this is another big one, man. Per Jason Schreier and Bloomberg reporting, Embracer Group has shut down Onoma, hope I'm pronouncing that right, formerly Square Enix Montreal, which was purchased in May, announced its new game just 3 weeks ago in October with Onoma branding. I'm butchering it. I think it's
I don't know how to say it.
I don't know how to say it. Forgive me, LSM fam. I'm butchering this name. Onoma was best known for creating the Go series of mobile games such as Hitman Go. The move would impact around 200 employees. Some Onoma staff will move to Eidos Montreal. Also, per Jason's sources, Eidos Montreal has reduced the scope of one unannounced project and will cancel another unannounced game. Now, potentially that other unannounced game was like a Stranger Things inspired.
Yeah, Kids on a Bike thing, right?
Kids on a Bike thing. And then Eidos working with Xbox on games like Fable. And then obviously that this is the same Eidos Montreal is working on a new Deus Ex game, reportedly in very early development. And then obviously prior to all of this, remember Square Enix Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and Eidos Montreal was acquired by Embracer Group for the $300 million, and that included the IPs for Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain. Lot to unpack here. So what's your thoughts on this? Just overall, the reporting, closing of the studio.
I mean, Jason Schreier, got them sources, so you always trust what he says about this stuff. So the reason this is interesting, I guess, is because of Crystal Dynamics is already co-developing Perfect Dark, right? And And I myself was like, oh, Xbox is going to buy them. It makes a lot of sense. So they're working on that. And then we get this information from Jason that not only is one of the studios, Square Enix Montreal, that changed their name, shut down. 3 weeks after they changed their name, they shut them down. They pulled the plug. But Eidos canceled one of their games, rescoped another one, and that they're also, I don't know if co-developing is the right word, but they're working on, and Jason used like the plural form, partnerships, implying more than one, and the one that they're, I guess, currently working on is Fable, which we have no clue when is coming out. Playground seems to be taking their sweet time with it, which you have to get Fable right, so understandable. So there's a lot of people out there with some crazy conspiracy theories. Shout out to Slobo, shout out to Everborn, right?
Send it on IOP first.
King, right?
That, King, they on it. What's the theory? What's the
theory is that well, I don't know if it's that Microsoft went to Embracer and was like, buy these studios, keep them for us.
And I quote King David, look, man,
okay,
the feds are on us, the CMA is on us. You know, you go hold these studios, you hold that, buy these studios for us. We gonna come back after this whole thing is over. Then we go.
So essentially, the conspiracy theory is that Microsoft went to Embracer and said, "Yo, buy these studios for us. We got the heat on us. We can't do it ourselves. We're dealing with the Activision Blizzard. We're dealing with the CMA and Jim Ryan, right? We can't acquire these. So you hold on to them for us." And then when the deal goes through, we'll pay a little premium for your services and we just take them back up. Which, it's an interesting conspiracy theory because I could see a scenario where Xbox does buy...
I mean, they working on Xbox games.
Yeah, two of their studios are essentially working on an Xbox game.
I didn't know about the Fable part either.
Well, nope, nobody knew until the Jason Schreier.
I was like, Brad, we got to admit, that is super cool.
Well, here's the thing. So I've asked around, and co-developing this sort of stuff is normal in the industry. Like, you go look at Halo Infinite and see how many studios worked on Halo. It's a lot. Go look at Last of Us Part 2. Look at the credits. It's like 12 different studios that worked on that game. I'm sure when the credits roll on God of War Ragnarok, it'll be a whole bunch of studios as well. Big AAA game development now requires lots of studios. But I guess maybe there's the question of like, but you don't really see a studio of the caliber of Crystal Dynamics working on Perfect Dark, even though I believe that was the intention all along, was that the initiative was going to pick somebody to co-develop that game with because the initiative was going to stay small and agile, or the caliber of Eidos Montreal to also work on another Xbox games. And Jason used the plural form of partnerships, implying it could be more than just Fable. So there is this idea where it's like, well, maybe there's a point to that where it's like, Xbox can't rock the boat with any acquisitions, so it's like you hold on to us, you paid the money, and then we'll come get it from you and pay a little bit more later. And I think Jez sorts of believes that's might actually going to happen. I'm also kind of the opinion that, let's say that was true. Let's say this is like, Embracer has this idea of selling all this stuff back to Xbox.
Flip these houses.
Would they have to kind of confer with Microsoft about the shutdown of Square Enix Montreal? You know what I'm saying? If they're about to sell back, they can bring up Phil and be like, hey, you know, these studios cost a lot of money to maintain. How long is this deal going to take you guys? Like, we got to shut this down. Did they call up Phil and ask him to get permission to shut down Square Enix Montreal, Ono or whatever? Did they get the permission to cancel one of Eidos' games? Because you look at it, to me, we know why Square Enix wanted these studios gone, right? Yeah. They are huge studios with huge headcounts that cost a lot of money to run, and the games that they were making were not selling enough. So they weren't offsetting the cost of the expenses, and it was just basically a money sinkhole. And Square Enix was trying to sell these companies for a while, and we were all shocked by how little it went for, right? We were like $300 million for Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, Legacy of Kain, Tomb Raider, right? Like Deus Ex, like we were expecting more than that. But if nobody else is really bidding, if Microsoft isn't there bidding, if Sony isn't bidding, does that say that there wasn't a lot of interest in the industry for those titles simply because of how expensive they were? And then you look at it and you're like, okay, well now Embracer or whatever conglomerate bought them that's in charge, I don't know if it's like Deep Silver or whatever, like now you own them, so now you're the one who have to pay for everything. And you're probably looking at it like, man, this is a little expensive, right? Do we have them work on something new for us, which we have to pay for, when we just bought a few years ago the studio that did Saints Row, right?
Right.
They released Saints Row, probably isn't going to live up to their sales figures or potential. So you had to fund that whole studio for all that time, and there's a chance maybe you're going to lose money on that. But here you have Xbox who's coming in and is being like, listen, we need studios to help work on our games, and we'll fund this. So maybe Embracer's looking at it like, we're cool with Eidos and Crystal Dynamics working on Xbox games because that means we don't have to fund that team to work on something for ourselves and pay for it for ourselves. So now Xbox is paying Crystal Dynamics and funding them to work on Perfect Dark, and now they're paying Eidos Montreal to work on Fable, when you already have them cost-cutting by shutting down Square Enix Montreal and then canceling one of their other projects. So it might just purely be a money play where now they're looking at it and they're like, damn, this is really expensive, and who knows when we're going to be a game from them. We might be perfectly okay with one of their teams at each one of these studios working on an Xbox game for the foreseeable future, because that's not a team that we have to fund ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think, Cog? I mean, what do you think this points to?
I mean, this is interesting. I mean, the shutting down so closely was interesting to me, because the thing, what made it confusing is like they rebranded. So to me, when you rebranded, I'm assuming you have a long-term vision, right? If you're rebranding, you're thinking to be around, in my opinion. So that's the part that throws me off. And then it's like, okay, look, it's a lot of headcount, right? Was it about 200 employees about to be impacted? They were working on some stuff. The relationship with Xbox is interesting. I'm not going to say it's not. I do feel in that building, and this is one of my little weird theories. I don't know if I told you, in reference to side note with Initiative and the whole Crystal Dynamics and how I feel Gallagher really has relationships in that building and stuff like that. I do feel there is a synergy. There's an underlying synergy or just familiarity. And it's the industry. Everybody knows everybody. I mean, it's not, rocket science. But in this case, it could just simply be Embracer just bit off a little bit too much with this. And they're like, okay, you know what? We don't really have no plans for you right now, even though it is weird. I still think it's weird to rebrand and then 3 weeks later you're shutting a studio down. That to me is inconsistent. Other than that, they definitely look like they're cutting costs. Now, is it this grand Xbox flip? I don't know if I'm all the way there. Shout out Slovo, shout out to King. I don't know if I'm all the way there with that. I just know the relationship is cozy. Let
me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Would you like Xbox to add Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal to their first-party studios? Would you be in favor of that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That's first of all, Crystal Dynamics is hashtag just what energy you're talking about, these IPs that are beloved. You talk like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Because
I think the reason why people look at this strangely is because two of the studios were included that sale are now working on Xbox games, and everybody thought Xbox was going to buy them. Yeah. And while we talk about co-development of games is normal in the AAA video game industry, usually the studio that's working on the game isn't bigger than the OG studio working on the game. Like Halo Infinite, no, like there's a ton of studios working on it, but nobody's bigger than 343, right? ton of studios working on God of War Ragnarok, but nobody's bigger than Sony Santa Monica who's working on it, right?
Right.
Where now you look at it like, all right, Crystal Dynamics is a pretty big studio, pretty storied studio. Okay, and you're like, all right, that makes sense, maybe because of the way the initiative is structured, right? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, makes sense. But now you add Eidos Montreal to it, another storied studio that's pretty big. And now they're also co-developing, or at least helping out on Fable. You're like, man, this, like, those big studios working on those projects, I know people say that's normal, but like, I don't know if the prestige of these studios being helper studios is quite normal. And we both could be right. Embracer might be like, yo, these costs are ridiculous, which I would imagine they would know looking at like the acquisition. You would be like, okay, well, wait a minute. We know how much.
Before you answer, let me. This ties right into Stephen Forgione's question, which I forgot to ask. Hey boys, it appears another formal vassal of Square Enix is helping another Xbox studio. This time, Eidos Montreal with Fable. It makes me wonder: would Square Enix West, being Eidos and Crystal Dynamics, have been acquired by Microsoft if not for the Activision Blizzard King deal? They're already running support on multiple first-party titles, and their IP catalog of Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy Arcane align with the portfolio that Microsoft is trying to build. Could these two studios still be a potential target after the Activision Blizzard King situation concludes? Thanks, and have a Let Arkane revive an Ion Storm classic kind of day. No doubt. So again, let's just talk about relations, right?
Yeah, it's just, that's but so like in a scenario where Slow-Mo and Everborn are right, and this is like, they're just holding, do they then, so they bought them for $300 million. Are they flipping them to Xbox for $600 million? Would Xbox look like they got screwed in that situation because they just paid double of what, or is that just the cost of doing business because they weren't able to get them when they were available?
Right.
So it's like you have to pay the premium, but then it's like, I think Phil's a stickler for certain things, and I think the idea of like, here's Embracer, and here's Square Enix selling these studios, right? Clearly, they've been wanting to sell them for a while, and they sold them for such a paltry amount, and it really only seemed like maybe Embracer was the only one involved. Because
that would be the case if someone's locked in litigation.
True, but you would also think, like, wouldn't there be anybody else that would want those studios? Or does everybody in the industry know how expensive those studios are to run? And
look at the numbers of what they put out and in return on investment
and what they make. And
right.
But is Phil also then? Because I know Phil is also cost conscious, right? You need to have a plan. Need to have certain things. It's just like not just monopoly money thrown around and things like that. So is he also looking at Crystal Dynamics and being like, I don't know. Like, look, I would love Crystal Dynamics to be an Xbox first party studio. Same thing with Eidos Montreal. It is just an odd situation for the prestige of those studios to be co-developing Xbox games, but it makes you just think, where it's like, is it possible this ends up with them selling to Xbox? Have we ever seen something like that so close to another, where it's like one company buys them and then that company sells them to another company later? Is that have we ever seen something like that happen before?
But we have to both admit, as much as I think me and you tend to be more balanced with these kind of rumors, but even me and you have to admit there is some underlying weirdness here. It's just the Xbox related. If it wasn't that they were co-developing these Xbox games prior, I don't think I would even have my third eye open, so to speak, right? That part does make me go, what's that about? You know, kind of thing. And you know, who knows? It is one to monitor. I'll be honest, I don't have a definitive, there is no way it's going to happen kind of vibe, because the Activision Blizzard King CMA situation, Microsoft has been on record. They have definitely stopped them from kind of doing other things that they have intent to do. The question is the relationship with Embracer Group and Microsoft to that point where it would be kind of like, it's like they're like a mule. Like they're going to hold it, you know, so to speak, and then, you know, sell off the things that are not, valuable or way too expensive, and then represent to Microsoft, and then the end game is achieved. I don't know if it's that deep, but I will say again, my only point of contention is just probably the Xbox Studio game, because the Fable thing threw me off, Red. I ain't gonna lie, I was like,
But you know what threw me off?
What?
Was, and I don't know if Jason just did this on accident, but like if you look at his tweet, let me bring up his tweet here, right? Mm-hmm. If you go to his tweet about this, where he plugged his Bloomberg article, because this is where the story comes from.
Of course.
He says that Eidos Montreal, which remains intact, canceled the Stranger Things inspired Kids on Bike game that was rumored recently. They're now working on 1, a new IP, which is recently rescoped, 2, a new Deus Ex, which is very, very early, and 3, co-dev partnerships, plural, with Xbox, including Fable. So when I read that and I see the plural form, it's not just like Crystal Dynamics working on Perfect Dark, right? Like it was always singular. Like they're just working on this. This one is presented as something where Eidos Montreal is working on multiple games with the Xbox, because Jason uses the word partnerships, co-dev partnerships, twice in his tweets. Mm-hmm. So does that imply a more robust relationship?
I mean, if we're going to go down this road, I have your co-host from Windows Central, Gordon, who tweeted yesterday, Embracer has both Crystal Dynamics and Eidos working on Xbox IP in partnership with Microsoft. Personally, I suspect the partnership will extend to future games beyond Perfect Dark and Fable in one form or another. So the relationship is cozy.
Well, this is what I was going back to about the idea you mentioned of Embracer biting them off more than they can chew, right? They already shut down Square Enix Montreal, which is a cost-saving maneuver, right? They canceled one of Eidos' games. What if they realize that it's just easier for Xbox to pay the bills? So if Xbox wants to do a Perfect Dark 2, they'd be more inclined to let Crystal Dynamics work on Perfect Dark 2 because Xbox is paying the bills while the other team at Crystal Dynamics works on Tomb Raider. And they could be the same. That could sort of be like a cost saving thing where it's like, all right, Xbox is paying this amount of money for you to do this. We'll still own you and own the IP. And we're perfectly fine with Xbox footing the bill, because then we don't end with scenarios where we just spent 5 years working on Saints Row only to have it flop and lose a bunch of money. And you could apply that to Eidos.
Right.
We're still working on Deus Ex, which is what people want. But if Xbox wants to have us work on Fable and this other stuff, we're perfectly okay with that. Because at the end of the day, it's about money. Now, but where it gets strange is now people have this idea in their head where it's like, where it's basically Embracer's a house flipper. Yeah. Right? They get in on low, and they bought this thing for $300 million. They're going to furnish it up, spruce it up, add some couches, some beds, add some painting and some floors, get it ready. House flipping. And then here comes Microsoft. Phil's bringing Satya through the door. I love what you did with the place. And like, man, this place is looking really good. And Embracer's like, we can flip it to you for $1 billion. And, it comes with all this and all the furnishings. I'm just, because that's realistically what the conspiracy theory is saying, is like, we're holding on for you. We're getting it prepped. Yeah. And we'll give you the,
Are we coming around? I think we're coming around. I think we talked ourselves back into the room.
I don't know on this one, man.
I don't know either. I'm just gonna say to Philly, I don't know. This is what I will watch with a very discerning eye. But I do think
Jez is right. Regardless of whether Xbox buys them from Embracer, I think you'll see Eidos and Crystal work on Xbox games going to the future, because it probably makes the most financial sense for Embracer to do.
Right, and that to me sometimes is where I think the conspiracy theorists, sometimes it could just literally stop at that. Right, It doesn't necessarily have to go all the way to the acquisition, because at that current state, it's still beneficial for Embracer Group to say, oh, okay, if you're going to fit the bill and then we ain't got to take the risk and you just going to give us this cash, go help them do, you know what I mean? Like, I could see those scenarios.
You know what this is like? This is like, I used to be electrician, union electrician, right? And usually during the winter months here in Chicago, it gets cold. There's not a lot of jobs going on. So I work for a company, and the company has all their journeymen, and they have their apprentices, right? Say you got 100 of them, and you have jobs for all 100 of them during the summer, the spring. But once the fall comes, once the winter comes, the jobs are few and far between. But the big companies, the big ones, the ones that are doing the big constructions downtown, they always need people, and they would rather I know this was kind of outside the union rule book, because you're supposed to hire from like the books of people laid off, and this is kind of like under the table type stuff. But you would have those big companies make deals with these smaller companies, and all of a sudden now you have 100 mouths to feed. And now you made a deal. Now 50 of them are now actually working for the bigger one downtown, still getting paid by their regular company, but that company's now paying the other company for the use of their workers, because they'd rather have people that were employed and knew what they're doing versus people off the books that were unemployed. I think it could be a very similar situation that's going on right now with Embracer and all, and working with Xbox, where it's just easier for us to do it this way. Right? Yeah,
that could be the motive of business, right? And how they going to choose to operate, and it financially could make perfect sense for them, and they'll get off. So we will monitor this. This is a fun one. I like that one. Speaking of move on, third bit of news: Marvel and EA announced a multi-title collaboration to develop action-adventure games for PC, console, and PC. Each game will be its own original story set in the Marvel universe. Each of the games will feature original stories. The first game will be the Iron Man title that's in the work from Motive Studios, the team behind Dead Space remake, led by Oliver Prue, which worked on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The Iron Man game will be a single-player action-adventure game for PC and consoles that features an original story that taps into the history of Iron Man, where you'll be able to truly experience Tony Stark's alter ego. Then also, the properties that other two games are based on have not officially been confirmed, but one is rumored by our good friend Jeff Grubby Grub, that the Black Panther game by EA Seattle, with a 2025 release at earliest. And then Grubb also states that no studio or Marvel character has been determined for the third game as part of this announcement. So EA and Marvel, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, this kind of goes back to our earlier discussions about Midnight Suns, right? Where it seems like if you want a Marvel game, Disney's willing to work with you. So I'm all for an Iron Man game, right? Makes sense. One of the premier heroes in the universe. Same thing with Black Panther. I always wonder, Black Panther game, Arkham Combat, right?
Monolith, them dudes, right? Some of them ex-Monolith guys on that.
The Monolith guys on...
Yeah, I believe so. Some of those guys, that team was ex-Monolith guys.
So, but there's also the Amy Hennig one that was just announced recently with... It was like Captain America and Black Panther set during World War II, I believe. And then you have this other Black Panther game plus whatever this one is, and then clearly Sony has their deals with Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. So seems to me that Marvel's willing to license these things out. I wonder if there's a sense of like, well, if licensing all this out does sort of ruin the prestige of the brand by having everybody make one. Like, what if one of these isn't very good?
Right.
Are you not really worried about that anymore? I wonder what sort of like thought process goes into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested in an Iron Man game. I'm interested in a Black Panther game. I mean, what could be the third? A Hulk game? Remember the Hulk game on the 360? That Activision used to do the Deadpool games. Could you do bring back Deadpool? What about the X-Men, huh? It's just sitting there, ready and waiting. You got Cyclops, you got the team up stuff, Magnetos, you could do those. So there's plenty to draw from. And it definitely, because the same thing's happening with Star Wars, right? You got Ubisoft making a Star Wars game. You have Quantic Dream making a Star Wars game. You got the Knights of the Republic thing that just passed from one developer to the other. To me, it's like, man, is Xbox going to get in on this action? We're this Xbox podcast, like, you know, trying to relate this to the Xbox. It's like, and people have asked for this being like one of the things that exclusive wise has been missing.
Yeah, my bro, Boom Excel has been very animated about this.
Hey, you know what? What about an exclusive Marvel game? Why don't you do that? I think one of the hangups is, as we talked about before, Xbox likes to own their IPs. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily sure they would like to license one, but I always say, man, like, if you got an exclusive Punisher game from Coalition or something, or an exclusive Mandalorian game from, you know, one of the Bethesda studios. I mean, there is a relationship there because Machine Games is working on Indiana Jones. But like, you want to grow Game Pass, right? Starfield's got the name because it's got the developer pedigree attached to it. Avowed, not so much. And I don't want to hate on Obsidian, but they're not. Right. They're not on the level. But you know, would be on the level if you had a Mandalorian, something that transcends
that pop
sort
culture
of
zeitgeist.
Yeah, like how Spider-Man did for Sony, where it went to all demographics, kind of went beyond video games. That's sort of what the Marvel, Star Wars stuff can do. And it's like, you want to grow Game Pass or get Game Pass in front of people or get kids asking for Game Pass for Christmas. You know, a Marvel game or a Star Wars game might be the way. I know certain people don't want that. King doesn't want that. Right? He doesn't. So, but you know, honestly, I would like to see it. Granted, if a studio wants to do it, I think it all depends on whether or not one of the studios they have actually want to work on one of these things. But yeah, I'm all for like more Marvel games as long as they're great. Because we played through crappy Marvel games. There've been tons of crappy Spider-Man games. Crappy Iron. I got a million gamer score, so I played them all.
You played
the crappy Green Lantern game, the crappy Iron Man game that came out during the 360 era, and it didn't seem like they cared. So I don't want to return to that where it's just horrible games based off of the movies, and they're just like, there was even a Thor game that was awful. So these games have to be great. You still gotta institute the quality control to me.
Absolutely, and that's where I'm at. I'm pumped. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. There was initial trepidation when I heard who they were partnering. I was like, I don't know. But then, as I thought about it objectively, I'm like, you know what? I gotta give EA some little bit of flowers right now. They've come along. They've come a little bit now. You know, since what's my man Joseph Ferris has been over there with the It Takes Two. Was it No Way Out? I'm a huge Vincent Pella fan. To me, he's changed the entire culture. He's been elevated up the ladder. And I think they recognize his greatness. You know, we saw with the Titanfall and all that stuff, but it's like, you see the Apex Legends, right? You see what goes. But to me, the shining achievement is honestly, for them, is Jedi Fallen Order. Because that game doesn't fit the EA template. Monetization, multiplayer, ain't no like ultimate team pack in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't fit the EA template. And for them to let Vince greenlight and then it be successful, they go, oh, wait, these single player games, people do like them, right? Or if it's done well and you invest it, like, to me, it opened up the door. And then I just keep seeing his profile rise in the building. Now they gave him Battlefield to control it. Go fix it. Right. So I look at all that. I think they're empowered right now. And they made the deal with, obviously this Marvel deal. Iron Man game sounds absolutely fine. I want to know. I think he fits, right? Like, you fly around, like, even when you play Avengers a little bit with him as a character, if it was solely about him, like, the character kind of works, you know what I'm saying? Then the alter ego, you get into that. you know how I feel about the Black Panther game. I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? Someone take the mantle. That has tremendous potential. You know, the third character, we'll see what happens. I have my favorites. Obviously, I'm a Surfer fan. I'll jump into the question that kind of asked this. Shout out to Satello74. Hey, Meta Call of Duty Cog and Ran Dummy Thick Thor. Okay.
Dummy Thick, huh?
Dummy Thick,
Jeez.
yeah, okay. With the announcement of the multi-title collaboration between EA and Marvel, what characters game would you both like to see in the future? I personally like to see a Thunderbolts game that kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Can't wait to see what game COG makes an appearance in next. Oh, y'all funny with that Call of Duty. Okay, I see what y'all doing. Look, I'll jump in. I'm a big cosmic guy. I'm biased. You know, I know that since the Disney Fox deal was solidified, Marvel now has a lot of those properties back, like Fantastic Four, X-Men. I think your X-Men choice is good. But I'm a cosmic guy, man. I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan. I know it's a hard character. I know, you know, it's not, but I think you can pull it off. You guys, you got ways you can do some things, and I would love to see a take on that, or just more cosmic heroes in general. I think it would be kind of cool to tell like those type of stories that haven't been told, because Guardians of the Galaxy prove, you know, you could get the audience to care about a ragtag group of individuals you would never, you know what I mean, like put together. And I thought that game was really done well. Did you play Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, I played a little bit of it, but I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, yeah, that one we did a spoiler cast on it. That one surprised me. I didn't know what to expect, especially coming off the Avengers. That game was phenomenal. It had heart. It was funny. The story was great. Combat was interesting. It got a little repetitive on certain things, but they had this little interesting synergy mechanic. But the game was paid homage to those characters and told a unique story. Well done. So that's what I got. So you sticking with your what is it,
X-Men.
Punisher and X-Men? Okay, that's what you're going with?
X-Men.
No doubt.
X-Men is what I want, bro.
No doubt. So let's wrap up towards the end of the show. We got a couple more going on. Coming soon to Game Pass, man. Coming soon to Game Pass. We got a bunch. Legend of Tyanding, Cloud Console and PC out now. The Walking Dead, A New Frontier, the complete season. PC out now. The Walking Dead Michonne, the complete season on PC out now. Ghost Song, Cloud, Console, and PC, November 3rd. So that'll be tomorrow as of recording of this show. Football Manager 2023, Cloud, Console, PC, November 8th. Return to Monkey Island. Controversy around that one, I think. Cloud, Console, and PC, November 8th. Vampire Survivors, Console, November 10th. And there's that Pentiment, Cloud, Console, PC, November 5th. I like that November 15th day. I don't know if you heard, Rand. That's a nice day. And I don't know if you know that about that day. You know it's a special day for a lot of people. Somerville, he ain't getting it. Somerville, Console, and PC again on that magical day of November 15th. It's my birthday, just so you know.
Yeah, it's your birthday.
Yeah, it is. And by the way, which is a fun fact, my birthday is also the date of Xbox's birthday.
Yeah. So wasn't the 20th anniversary last year? That was on the 15th, right?
Yeah.
And the 1 year anniversary of Halo Infinite, which has its winter update coming in 6 days, I believe. You know,
I always tell people I was kind of meant to like the platform. Anyway, like
you were meant to like the platform. I was meant to like
it. Like, come on, you brought on my day. Like, come on. You know what I'm saying?
I can't wait for Somerville.
Oh, I was about to ask you about these games. So me and you. Oh, hold that thought. Don't give the balls on something. Hold that thought. We got something for that. But yeah, I'm with you. How you feeling about Vampire Survivors? Anything there or no?
I don't even really know what that is, to be honest. I know people. Isn't that like popular on PC or something like that?
People are talking about it. I see your boy Jez was talking about it because he was going to buy it.
Jez likes weird things.
Yeah, and he was just like, "Oh, now it's Game Pass. I don't got to buy it."
Well, Jez just got a Steam Deck, so
yeah, I saw it. Shout out to Jez. Yeah, he got the joint. So we got that. But yeah, I'm with you, Somerville, Pentiment. Then we got some big, actually, this is a new section I added, DLC game updates. Halo Infinite content, sir. Content.
Halo Infinite content.
Yeah, winter update, November 8th. They got 2 new maps built on Italian Forge coming in the winter update. It's called Argyle Detachment. One is like an indoor symmetrical arena map featuring 2 sniper spawns. Detachment is a symmetrical arena map featuring a teleporter and kinetic launchers. Then they did a whole bunch of balance updates, which I have to admit, you got to read the actual, like, I give 343. They give the most detailed updates on what's going on when they actually do come outside to talk. So they're gonna be buffing a lot of guns. The plasma pistol, which the charge up joint.
Yep.
That is getting a major buff. They talked about the details there on the blog. The plasma, the pulse carbine, the commando, a couple things. Slight nerf to the BR.
People aren't going to be happy about that.
Yeah, a little bit of accuracy stuff that I saw. Very detailed notes. Go up there, check that out. So that's up there. Also, some DLC updates. Microsoft Flight Simulator 40th Anniversary Edition. And I believe that's the November 11th. That's going to be the helicopter one. Helicopters and stuff like that. Then we got Sniper Elite 5 up close and personal pack and free map. It's available now. Sea of Thieves, Return of the Damned. Shout out to my boy Ben Smith, the man. Huge Sea of Thieves fans here at LSM, November 3rd to the November 17th. So any of these DLC updates excite you? Halo got you?
No.
You ain't fine.
It's all about Pentiment or Somerville for me.
You're not even going to fire up Halo Infinite on November 8th?
Nope. Don't care. Give me the BR. I'll load it up. Wow. Well, I mean, it's got the co-op, so I guess it's...
Co-op?
I guess, yeah, well, I haven't played it since the review period.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't even play it. So when I played it in review, it didn't even have achievements.
Yeah.
So I never went through the campaign again to actually get the achievements in the campaign.
Perfect time now.
It's like, all right, do I pick somebody and run through the campaign? There is somebody
that needs it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's this cool guy. You know what I'm saying? At your podcast, where he's really he needs it too. He saved the heroic or the legendary difficulty for that purpose, not to get that achievement. So let me know.
Interesting.
So we got that. And then leaving Game Pass on November 8th, Football Manager 2022. Makes sense because 2023 is about to come out. So that makes sense. And then November 15th, Art of Rally, Fae Tactics, Next Space Rebel, One Step from Eden, and Supra Land are leaving. Then we got a question, follow up on some Game Pass stuff. Actually, VRG, hey Rand and Cog, what are your thoughts on the delayed ports of PC-centric games like Age of Empires for Microsoft Flight Simulator to console? And he said, Microsoft goes out of their way to make sure every single console game releases day and date on PC. Meanwhile, the console crowd has to wait for stuff like Gears Tactics, which comes from a franchise that started on console. If Mario and Rabbids can work perfectly on the Switch, I don't understand why Gears Tactics need to be a year to be ported to Xbox. The PC crowd would flip their lid if any Xbox first-party games had a delayed PC launch, and many would be declaring their intent to cancel their Game Pass subscription. Is there a double standard, Rand?
Interesting. Well, okay, I think in the sense of Flight Sim, considering it's not on Xbox One, I think it was more like it's ready on PC and let's do it now. And then when the Series X and all that stuff comes out, we can release it. So it's like one of those things where it was done and it was like, all right, well, we can't release it because Xbox One can't do it. I think you're right on Gears Tactics. I even said that myself. I'm like, come on, bro. This isn't Age of Empires where it's an RTS. This is an XCOM game that has been on consoles for God knows how long at this point.
PC.
I do feel like Microsoft held that game because they wanted to put it on PC first to get like the love from the PC players and then put it on console. But I don't think it was a year. I think it was only 6 months because I think it came out in April of 2020 and then it launched. Yeah. It launched as the only launch title from first party on the Series X. That might have been a reason where they're like, wait a minute, maybe we should, right? I'm of the opinion if you're the platform holder and your whole catchphrase is play the games you want on the device you want with the people you want whenever you want, I'm of the opinion that all these things should be day and date. If you're having an Age of Empires 4, then Age of Empires 4 should be on PC day one as well as Xbox. Because that's your whole thing. Say. I understand there's probably difficulties that go in there, like you want to make Age of Empires with PC in mind because that's where it is, and then all the extra work to kind of tune in the controllers for it, so extra time, and it's probably like, well, we don't want to hold on to it for a version that's done. It does make it seem like there is this sort of situation where everything that's console related goes to PC day one, but not everything PC goes to console. which people have definitely voiced their opinion on online and are not happy with.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm perfectly okay with stuff going to PC. I don't care, right? But I do think it's just odd that some games take their time to come over. You know, you guys probably talked about it last week, but Age of Empires 4 is coming to the platform finally. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is finally coming over. You know, Age of Mythology Retold, I think, is PC only at this point, so the discussion will then be like, when is Age of Mythology Retold going to come to the console? I just, maybe in the sense of RTSs.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
That make sense because they got to come up with the controller scheme for it.
Yes.
But in something like Gears Tactics, I think didn't make any sense at all. And I think it was them just purposely holding off.
Maybe have that launch title for Series X.
You know, because even if you played Gears Tactics on PC at launch, you
it had controller support.
It had controller support like right away. So it was like, what was the point?
Facts. I agree.
Why not have it on console?
Gears Tactics is definitely, and I love you, shout out Splash Damage and them. I had them on ILP. But yeah, like I wanted that game because I'm Lord Turn-based. I'm like, I want to play this game. I played it on PC. I plug my Elite right up in there. It was working like it was nobody's business. So I was like, okay, what is really holding this port back from coming? Like, why is it taking so long? Look, I'm with you there. But I in fairness to them, on RTSs, dedicated RTSs, the Age of Empire, like, those games are built for a primarily PC count. And they may think about it like financially on the back end, where it's like, okay, if we put all these resources towards the console port initially, how many console players in the metrics are truly playing these games when we know initially the PC crowd is going to gravitate this and we get like a whole, you know, because remember, they've grown, in their defense, they've grown, we don't know what the number is, but they grow 159%.
Yeah, 159%.
We don't know what it was
number?
from.
We don't know the number.
We don't know the number. It could be 150 from 5 to 12. You know what I'm saying? But hey, they did it. So my thing is, you know, growing that space with they knowing the type of games that PC gamers like. And then, but I do agree, it needs to be quicker. And to your point, your overall point is right, which is if your motto is to promote the synergy of play anywhere, play where you want to play, you shouldn't have barriers on things necessarily not being there and, you know, say being one place and not the other, right? It will at least minimize that friction. And I think, yeah, they need to improve upon that. They're getting better. The ports are coming a little quicker. But yeah, I don't feel it's fair to the Xbox person in the ecosystem that if there's a game that they had their eye on, you know, like one of these games, that it takes so long. So I'm trying to be understandable. I'm not a tech, you know, I'm techie in their space. So it is what it is, but good question. Now it's up to you, man. Before we get the Game Pass pick of the week, you got something kind of special in there, man.
Yeah, Game Pass pick of the week. You kind of sprung this on me last second, so I wasn't really sure what to choose. But the one that I played most recently in Game Pass was A Plague Tale Requiem.
Why is it special, man? Why is it your pick?
Because the game was incredible. I loved like every single second.
Wow.
You know, like AAA experience. I mean, some people go like AA, but like this is one of the highest quality games that has come to Game Pass in a long time. If you enjoy a third-person, narrative-focused cinematic adventure, over the shoulder,
that sounds like
stealth-based action game, this might be up your alley. It definitely kind of sort of feels like they took a lot of inspiration from Naughty Dog's games, but like we don't get a lot of stealth stuff anymore. So when we do get one like this, I'm all in. I really dug the first game. It was a sleeper hit that came out of nowhere. So to see the sequel improve on this game improve on the first game in like literally every way, from how it looks, like this game. You want one of the best looking games of the gen. You load this up on your OLED, even though it's only 1440p or whatever it is, dynamic resolution. Like, it is a absolutely beautiful, beautiful game. And then the story that they tell, yeah, it's just something that I just can't recommend enough. Granted, for the full experience, you probably need to play the first game to get the full emotional connection to Amicia and Hugo. But out of everything that's come out on Game Pass recently, that's the most recent one I've played that I would recommend without hesitation. Like Gotham Knights, even though I'm enjoying it, I wouldn't really recommend it for the price point and the fact that it could get better. But Plague's Tale Requiem, that's a different story. That's like, hey, you need to play this game because it's something special.
And quick question before we move on. I'm surprised that the 30 frames, is not bothering you.
Well, so luckily I have a CX and I had 120 hertz modes, and Plague's Tale, if you have it in 120 hertz mode, it goes up to 40 frames. So it does feel better. For those that don't know about the 30 frames thing, essentially if you have a TV that does 120 frames and has VRR, if you have that enabled, you will get 40 frames instead of 30. So it does make the game smoother. It's disappointing once again that they focused on 30 frames. I understand, like, you can see why. The visuals, the presentation, you understand like why they went that way. But I mean, it feels a lot better to play than Gotham Knights. That's for damn sure. Like I didn't really have an issue with the performance on Plague's Tale, where the performance is a problem with Gotham Knights. So.
Fair enough. You heard it here first. Rand Outdoor says Plague Tale is it. Go in there, go get that, go grab it. I'm gonna get to it, man. I got Persona, I got a couple things. I gotta get to it because then we may have that spoiler cast, and I gotta invite some people so we see what goes on there. Final question of the show. Ending question. Shout out to Sean Mason. Greetings, Cog and Rand. I couldn't believe when I was reading and I first saw that Somerville is coming out on November 15th. Glorious day. Both Limbo and the Inside hold special places in my heart. There is no doubt that Limbo was one of those early Xbox digital-only games that changed the perspective of downloadable games. Inside was critically acclaimed, some even giving it their Game of the Year award. What are your expectations for Somerville? Any chance this can make some noise in the Game of the Year discussion? Best Sean M. I'm going to jump right on this.
You jump on it, bro.
Because this, people sleeping. Like, this was the one for me because... What's funny is, without even knowing who Jump Ship was, I saw the trailer for Somerville. I'm like, yo, what's this? Kind of like dystopian, dark, giving me that inside energy, giving me that, one of my classic games of all time is Out of This World. And Out of This World is made by one person, Eric Chahi. And a lot of games take a lot of inspiration from where the game does not tell you what's going on. You kind of throw it in the world and you're figuring things out. And it kind of gives me the energy, but also now it had like, okay, you got your wife, I guess, and your dog, your son, and it's just what is going on in this world. And it's just something that the art style was very captivating. And then when I found out, okay, the makers of Inside, I guess there was a split, and part of them, that team, those guys that made it, was on this as part of this Jump Ship. So I'm like, oh, I'm in because I know how much I love Inside. Like Inside, I think even Phil was like one of Phil's game of the years too. Like he loves Inside. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that came out and I was like, people play this game. And what's funny is I got non-gamers to play Inside and was like, yo, what's next? All right, what about we try this? And they start getting into it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I love games like this. I'm with Sean Mason. I think people are snoring on Somerville. And no disrespect, I'm Team Obsidian. Shout out to the Black Rock. I know Pentiment is there. But I ain't gonna lie, Rare. Mm-hmm. I think I'm booting up Somerville first. I gotta stand tall.
I'm kind of there with you, bro. I'm kind of there with you.
Gotta stand tall.
Look, Limbo and Inside, two of my favorite games of all time. Limbo was incredible. Inside, I think they came out in 2016, might have been my game of the year for 2016.
Yeah,
I think it's a masterpiece.
Yes.
And so much so you have a lot of copycats, a lot of people that try to do that formula but don't do it nearly as close. Now, I believe this was the guy that left Playdead and formed the studio, so it's not Playdead. And you know what's also kind of sad?
Wow.
Inside came out in 2016. It's 2022, and we still don't have the even Playdead's next game.
Yeah,
it's been a while,
wild.
right? We've seen screenshots of it of something, and it's still not here. So now we get like, okay, Somerville. It seems like you're a family on the escape from some sort of alien invasion, at least judging from the trailers. Bro, I am so excited for this game. You know, like, it didn't matter, like, whether or not it's in GamePass. It doesn't matter. I'm buying it. I don't care. Whatever the cost is, I'm playing this.
Yeah,
I don't know if I set my expectations too high, or if I haven't played a game like this, that side-scrolling, I don't even know what you would call it, like puzzle, cinematic, I don't even know what type of genre it is. But I haven't played a really, really good one since Inside. There's been a couple here or there that are like okay or just good, but I want a great one. I want one where everybody plays. You're like, what about that part? You know that part at the Inside that everybody talks about because it was just like, holy cow, like, what the hell is going on?
What just happened?
Right? I don't know if you've ever, like, has there been another discussion, like, that type of moment in any other game where you're just like, what the hell was this? You know?
There are still to this day, like, philosophies on Inside, what it means, the ending, and then the secret. I know you did the secret ending.
Oh, of course.
So it's like, bro, like, that game is still a philosophical talking point.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, I was like, that is a masterpiece. And I know those guys are inspired by my original game I told you about from Out of This World, because that at its time back in the day was it's those type of those type of games are missing for me. And Somerville feels that. It just feels like that energy. I'm with you, bro. Like, once I found out it said built in collaboration with the ex-CEO and co-founder of Playdead, Dino Pot. Anybody who's associated with that, he was the ex-CEO. I want to know what you're doing next. I want to know what you're doing.
Well, that's the other thing. So it's like they stealth. Like, we all thought it was next year because it was like, it's supposed to be 2022, but it's late October. We haven't heard anything. We just assume, and then they just released a trailer, and it's just like, really, you have the letters of the game as it gets bigger, but behind the letters is fast images cut of the game itself. You're like, wow, yeah, we haven't heard about this game in a bit. And then boom, November 15th, out of nowhere. Reminds me a lot of the marketing and lead up to Inside, because if you remember, we had seen a trailer for it and it was like, okay, we don't know when it's coming. And then at Xbox's E3 2016, which I was there, you were there, but we didn't know each other.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Xbox's E3, they showed the trailer, and it was basically like 2 weeks later it was coming out. It was coming like June or whatever. It was like, oh my God, it's coming in a couple. That it sort of feels like they're trying to recapture that. It was like Somerville. And it's like, oh, okay, next year, give us a date. And it's like, no, it's actually November 15th. Awesome. You know, and I'm sorry, Pentiment. I know Obsidian's your team. You're not, I don't know, are you wearing their t-shirt today? You usually wear who do you got on today?
This is just classic OG.
Oh, so you don't have a studio shirt on to piss off.
No studio shirt today.
Piss off those guys about acquisitions, right?
Yeah, you know that. All the studios, I just bother them. They get mad.
So
He's always talking about that.
It's about that Somerville, baby.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you, man. Absolutely well said. And we made it to the end.
The end already?
The first ever Rand and Con collabo show. Shout out. You know, we had a lot of topics. So tradition here is we kind of do this hashtag.
Hashtag, okay. What do you want the hashtag to be?
What we got, man. I mean, you know, obviously the discussion about 2023 was definitely something. You know,
we just do hashtag DD Rand and Cog and Rand, or
we could do Rand and Cog DD.
Well, you got to go first. You're the host of the show. I'm just a guest. Like Rand and Cog, it should be Cog and Rand.
We can do Cog and Rand, DD.
You know, it's Rand and Jez, not Jez and Rand.
oh, that's how that goes. Okay, I got it. So you want to do Cog
I'm the one
and
that
Randy?
interviews Jez every week, according to everybody, right?
I like when it be like, that other guy.
That other guy. Jez and that other guy.
When he get the scoop. Yeah. Yeah, we could do a Cog and Rand, DD. We could hold that down. Or, like I said, you got Xbox 23.
Cog and Rand, or what would it be? Cog and Rand 2023?
We could do a Cog and Rand. We got to throw DD, though. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the tradition. That's the rule. The rule has to be at the end of
Cog
it.
and Rand 2023.
Nobody got DD got to be at the end.
Oh, DD's got to be at the end.
It's like whatever DD.
Cog and Rand 2023 DD.
Okay, there we go. Let's do that. So if you got to the end of the episode, Cog and Rand, it's a long one, 2023 DD. Because that was really the crux of the discussion.
DD.
So yeah, go that. Make sure you follow this man. Rand, give your amazing Twitter handle, sir.
Yeah, my amazing Twitter handle, the one that has a bunch of underscores in it. I mean,
That's right,
if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Rand_AL_Thor_19. Or you can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RandallThor19, which also has links to all my social media, including the Patreon that Jez and myself just started. So appreciate you having on. It was a lot of fun. I wonder how people are going to react to the solo Cog and Rand episode. Are they going to be demanding a new podcast where it's just me and you together?
You got me betraying my boy already.
I mean, you got ILP.
You got me betraying Matty already. The backstab already.
You know, do we start a podcast on my channel where it's Rand and Cog?
Okay, we branching
Rand
off
and
already.
Cog on Tuesdays and Rand and Jez on Fridays, and then
How many podcasts
you got
am I gonna be doing?
you got Ultimate on Mondays, and then Defining Duke on Wednesdays, and yeah, I mean it could work. Do people want a Rand and Cog podcast? I don't know.
We'll see what the people say. But first and foremost, I miss my boy, Mr. Matty Plays as well. Shout out there. He put me in the game, so I can't be disrespectful here. Fran out here strategizing. No, I'm just joking.
Shout out to Matty. Hopefully
Matty.
you love the 10-year wait to the next Fallout game.
Don't do that. evil. Shout out to him. Shout out to LSM fam. Again, if you made it to the end, Cog and Rand 2023 DD. Rand, brother, this was fantastic. First time we got a chance to cast together. I had a ball. At least it just kind of reminds me of the conversation sometimes that we would have offline when we just kind of messing around and stuff like that. So if you got to the end of the episode, go check that out. LSM fan, again, leave your likes, your comments. We really appreciate the support. And again, send Matty some love. The Duke and the Duchess, the knots have been tied. The ceremony, the royal ceremony. My boy did that thing, and I'm glad to hold him down. He has held me down so many times. So send Matty some love also on social media. That's all I got. And if anything else, you got anything else, Ram, before we get out of here?
That's good. 3-hour show or just about 3 hours?
Just about 3. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, everybody enjoy your day. We out of here. Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.